Hey, watching a Rob G. No sound boy can't rob we. Much less drape or grab we. Hey, watching a Norway massive. Sound boy. Searching to find up Rob G. Not working with no bad mind swine dub. Sound boy said they wanna be like Robin Hood. Them bout to go Las Vegas and Hollywood. Rob G machine turn on in the lawn. Select a life gone. Ash! Dubs will be flowing on and on. From dusk till dawn.
All right, cut it out. The real Nordic Black is in the building once again. Yes, I'm going live again, man. I can't help it. I got to get back into the thick of things. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like Dan McClellan, the T-shirt of the day, "Ready to Die" from the Notorious B.I.G. album. Anyway, I ain't got that many T-shirts to be showing all different T-shirts every damn day like him. But anyway, nice to see y'all. Whoever doesn't come in live will see this video whenever it is done or whenever they have time to come in because it publishes automatically. Anyway, so we're going live again. Man, it's like a trifecta or whatever. I went live, no, more than that. I went live several times the other day. I went for like 3 hours. I said anytime I had the energy and don't have too much things going on, I'm gonna try to go live. First I need to set off some things. I need to put the link in the chat. I gotta put the link in the chat so that anybody, I gotta learn how to pin that. So any guests that want to come in can just do that whenever. Let's see. Let's press. Boom. How can I pin this bad boy? Yo! What up? What up? James Apperson in the building. What's going on? James, click on the link. Click on the link. So we can chat. We can chat. Just a little bit. Just show your face, man. Pop through. You don't have to. But anyway, I think I'm pinning it correctly. This is day 2 going live. Let me see. I swear to God, I feel like older than I am with this technology stuff, man. Anyway, I'm gonna put before I start to go in and start to talk about some of the things that I want to go in and talk about, I'm gonna make sure that this live stream is on my Facebook. But nice to see you, James. I see you on the line. You know what I mean? I think that's you. It looks like you. I see you. I don't have a cam. I never use on my. Okay. Yeah. Do that on the phone. You can do that on the phone or shit. You can just use your voice. I know. Oh, there you are. That's what's up. Hey, what's going on?
Hey there. How are you today?
What's up? I'm good. I'm feeling good. Are you on that? Do you? Aren't you on? You go on the line or no? Am I?
No, it's I support the line. I'm involved over there, but I never go on the line.
Okay, because you look like that one guy. I got you mixed up because your
Maybe
picture,
Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels.
possibly,
Maybe.
because your thumbnail, yeah. But anyway, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
saying that. I'm not saying that all white people look alike, but you kind of
Well, it never even occurred to me. So
right.
I'm a moderator over at MythVision, and I've got my own channel over here on YouTube. And
Okay,
I'm
okay,
a frequent person at various channels in the network.
okay. Cool. Man, I've been on a hiatus, and I never really put in the work on my own YouTube channel. I never really, yeah, I never really went in and put more effort into to my thing because I had so much going on with real life. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so
same.
yeah, and I'm not as tech savvy as you and most other people in the atheist online community. So I'm
Right.
like I'm lagging behind big time. But I said the very least I can do though is put a little bit more effort into to some of my my
Right.
channel or whatever.
So
Eh,
right now the trend in channels is
Okay,
just to get on there and talk, just to get on there and talk. So
that's
like
right. Mhm.
yeah, Brandon over at Mindshift or Derek even at MythVision. Now Derek, when he makes his uploads, he does it really professionally and uses AI art and stuff like that. But when he just does a live stream, it's
Right.
just him talking or him and a guest talking, and that's all there is. So
Right. And man, he came a long way because I went back into some of his earlier videos and things, and he came a long way. He's a really sharp, smart guy. You
yeah,
know,
he's
he's
busy all the
sharp.
time. Yep.
Yeah, he's sharp, and you could tell he honed his skills, got a lot better, and like you said, and yeah, those videos he makes now he be calling them documentaries.
Yeah, yeah. He
I'm
just
about to.
released one that's like 3.5 hours long. So
Right. What
yeah.
was the latest one? What did it have to do with?
Something to Yahweh.
Okay, Yahweh.
That's a
Right,
popular theme over at his channel recently about the
right,
development of the idea of Yahweh, where it comes from, and all the
right,
lies that the churches use to try to create this idea of God.
right.
Yeah.
No, because he's been talking a lot about Jay Home in the building.
Mm.
Um, Jay Home, sup? What's up, Jay? No, yeah, I seen him. What's her name? Professor Stavra. He was talking about the
Vivekula.
origin. Yeah, her.
Vivekula.
Right. I remember he got in Dr. Carter Cooney after I did.
Kara
But
Cooney, we were just talking about her this morning in a different channel.
after I did, see, I'm even though I'm far behind. If you look at the timelines, I had her on first.
I
If you
haven't
don't,
had her on my channel yet, so I'm jealous.
yeah,
But she came out on MythVision here like last week to say that
yeah.
she's a polytheist. And that really caught Derek off guard because she'd never mentioned
Word.
that to him before.
Okay.
And so it
Okay. I didn't.
got me thinking about it because in the atheist community, also known as the secular community, there's not a lot of tolerance for people with spiritual beliefs or theistic beliefs. And it makes a lot of people that are deconverting or that have long since deconverted feel unwelcome in the community because they're
Wow,
yeah,
bro. I've been kind of tinkering on it. I've been speaking about that a little bit, and I feel like I was like one of the few, especially black atheists that talked about that
yeah,
because I'm serious. I swear to God, if you go back to some of these interviews, especially with some of these black atheists or whatever, you see them going in hard, and I'm like, I kind of pull back a bit because I was like, I talked about that part right there that you said that they feel like they're being attacked and things like that, and I also talk about some of the some of the good that has been, especially with black people and civil rights and things like that. I said you can't sit back and act like as if the church didn't do have any good. Like there was a place for us to fellowship and things like that. And I said that if that was the case, then the president still they wouldn't stop by the churches during election time, this and that. And we had certain freedoms. Um, you know when during the slavery times or whatever, during Sundays or whatever. So, and then also during church we were able to get together and do certain things. So I'm just saying that my whole point was it's more kind of complex than that, you know what I mean? Like
hmm
the church did some good when it comes to. I mean, that was the place where they got funds together to support this and support that. You know what I mean? It's like it wasn't all bad. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And there's
So
still good people over there today that
right,
go to churches and associate with the label, and you know,
right. So
if you,
I try not to bash them, even though I send pot shots every now and then by with my memes and shit like that because it's funny. But I do that with everybody. You know what I'm saying?
sure, why not?
I, with every race, my own race, I do that with But yeah. Now, what were you about to say? I know I cut you off.
Oh no, I mean I'm right there with you 100%. It's not so black and white, and we shouldn't be treating it like it is, right? Our cultural enemies are the people that are trying to subvert freedoms, people that are trying to force everyone to comply with their religious beliefs, people that are holding back science, people that are spreading conspiracy theories about science that are dangerous to society.
Right,
But people that are behaving well, and they're just
right,
out there living their life, right? If
right,
they're not indoctrinating people, if they're not um, an active part of some destructive culture war, if
right,
they just happen to have some beliefs we don't agree with, then I
right,
think we do need to make space for them to say, "Come on and have the conversation," right? You won't be disrespected here. Let's talk.
right. That's true. That's true. And I always tell people, I was like, I mean, I remember having a old neighbor back in the States. I live in Norway, obviously. There was a guy that he did a lot of mischief in the town and a lot of crimes and things, and then he so-called turn his life to Christ or whatever, and he's almost like a damn angel. You know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
who am I to tell this guy to try to get him out of his bubble or out of his space? Who am I to do that? At the same time, I wouldn't kind of lie to him about my opinions about religion because I think
Right.
but so there's you know I think there's a place for it, and like you said, we got to show uh more tolerance and things like that, and more we gotta welcome them. And
Right. So I see everyone as part of a larger living, breathing system. And
right,
so, for example, hundreds of years ago, when the Quakers, who were a Christian denomination,
right,
rose up to lead the abolition movement against slavery in America,
right,
they had been influenced by secular progressive value thinkers. And
right,
so they took that stuff to heart. And what they
right,
did is they read their evolving ideas back into the texts, imagining that they'd gotten them from the texts. But
mm,
but when they did that, they were giving themselves permission to grow.
mm-hmm.
So, and then they took that. Now, let's say for hypothetical that the Quakers back in that day would have accidentally progressed too far and became full on secular non theists. Well, now we might say hooray for them, but they wouldn't have been able to have any social clout in a predominantly Christian social ecosystem of the America at that time.
Right, right,
They would have went around saying, "Hey, we've as a group we've realized that this whole God thing is a grift, and we don't believe in it anymore. We're atheists now. By the way, we need to get rid of slavery." All the other churches would have said, "Oh no, you're the enemy. You're the atheist enemy. We're not listening to you."
mm,
But because the Quakers hadn't grown too far too fast, they took these secular ideas and values that they
right,
read back into their texts, gave themselves permission to grow in that way. And then as Christians, they brought these ideas, these values to other churches, who then brought those to other churches, and it started a revolution.
right,
So
right,
there is sometimes a benefit
right,
in religious peoples not growing too far too fast.
right. And speaking of but no society is perfect,
Right.
because speaking of that, there's a book right next to me right now by this guy, African founders, how enslaved people expanded American ideals, by David Hackett Fisher.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I mean, he did some remarkable
Nice.
research in this book. Um, and when you talk about the Quakers, he highlights the not so popular part where Quakers did own slaves. And so I always, what was that one Quaker that he highlighted in here when they're talking about slave ownership and things like that?
Mhm.
He had a big chapter on that to dispel that myth about about Quakers not owning slaves and things like that. But anyhow, so it was just, the book was just close to me, and so when you mentioned that, but you're
So give me the actual factuals on that. Where
yeah
Quakers relative to slavery, how did that factor in for them? So some of them
oh
did.
wait, here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Schools and frame of slave Quaker teaching and African learning. With William Penn. Let me see.
So an example that comes to my mind is Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson was heavily involved in legislation trying to get rid of slavery, but at the very same time, he had slaves.
Yeah.
He had his own slaves.
Right.
And so there's a hypocrisy there, but it was progress, right? So he at least he was starting to wake up to the fact that we needed to do something about it.
Right. And he has a little chapter with Quakers and slavery, and how he talks about William Penn's unstable compromise on slavery, where many Quakers were divided on the question. Some accepted slavery, practiced it, and sought to, and also sought to, an example set by the, George Fox himself. He observed slavery firsthand in Barbados. It's he has a whole William Penn. So
it doesn't surprise me at all whenever there's a major shift in a way of thinking amongst a people. There's going to be a schism within that group at first, because not everybody's going to accept a point of progress at the same rate.
That's true. Like he names it specifically Pennsylvania Quakers, the Bristol slave ship Isabella, which brought 150 African captives to Philadelphia. The purchasers were mostly Quakers because they were desperate for labor and nearly exhausted their cash reserves. Anyway, so it's a big chapter. Right here, he did some heavy research on that. You gotta check this book out right here.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, I'll add it to my list.
Yeah.
So Jay Home asks, what about the increase in demands from a certain religion, and I think he's talking about Islam there, that come here as refugees, but now
let me show that. Yeah, there we go.
Now start to revert into more fundamentalist beliefs once they get here, which really clashes with science and clashes with the idea of coexistence.
That's a big question. I'm gonna let you handle that one, James.
Right. So this makes me think about the paradox of the North and the South after the Civil War. If they would have formed two different countries as a solution, where people who were hyper conservative and wanted to keep slaves formed one country, and ultra religious as well, and then the North, being more liberal and progressive, formed a different country, the North side of that would have accelerated their progress in terms of the humanities, but we would have ended up with a polemic enemy at our door. We would, because the concentration of far right political thinkers and slaveholders and hyper religious people, all of their rhetoric would have intensified. So by keeping the nation as a whole, even though we didn't like being a whole, it made it to where there was a constant intermixing of influence between different views, values, and ideals. And even though there's conflicts that still arise from that, especially today, the truth is that there's a general trend toward progress in the larger America because of the fact that we stayed one country. We mixed everybody in. So when we have people coming in from another country, and some of them, not all of them, but some of them are secretly Muslim extremists posing as moderates and progressives so they can get in. It is a problem, right? But what happens is there's a larger influence of effect. So it's more of a math equation, right? You're going to have some people who stay polemic and isolationist and troublemakers, but by and large, the larger whole of the immigrants who identify with Islam are
Mm,
going to be gradually subject to the influence of the larger culture in which they sit, and it will help to temper them and help catch them up to speed and progress for the humanities. So the net sum is a positive gain, but only if we don't make certain mistakes along the way. Now, UK made some pretty big mistakes when it comes to this, and they ended up with these roaming patrols, which do not represent all Muslims at all, but they did end up with some roaming patrols of Muslim extremists that had secured citizenship there, who would go to public parks and tell people, you guys aren't allowed to hold hands, you need to cover up or go home because you're a woman, and they would end up in these conflicts. And in my opinion, the government at that point should have said, you're crossing the line. This is disruptive. It is unhealthy for our society. Now, if you want a civil discourse, we'll allow for a platform where we have this discourse, but you cannot be going around intimidating people that are citizens of the United Kingdoms
mm,
and telling women that they need to go home or cover up and telling other people they're not allowed to be holding hands, etc. That's too far. We will not allow you to do that. We're passing laws to say you can't do that. We will enforce those laws. And if you keep violating them, we will send you back where you came from. You're on
mm.
notice. That should have been the line that they drew. But at the same time, I do, other than that, like as long as they're willing to set those hard boundaries and say here and no further and allow for good, healthy civil discourse, then I think it's fine to let immigrants in that are under the Islamic banner.
Right,
That's my thought, anyways.
right. Bro, look, my brain cells ain't hardly working right now.
It's all good. We had Chris Moore in the house, a regular
Uh,
guest over at my channel as well. How are you doing today, Chris?
What's up, Chris? In the building, Speaker's Corner, huh? Well, don't they got that out in Hyde Park? Sound like we're in Speaker's Corner right now. My man James is dropping some knowledge on y'all. Speaking of that, what is your opinion, James, on the Palestinian and Israel conflict? But before I get into that, you heard about the Eurovision, the Euro Song Contest out here in Europe, right?
I did not hear about the song contest.
Okay, you know what that is, right? Have you ever heard of? Have you seen that movie with Will Ferrell about the Before I get into that, hold up, J Home. I guess he hits back something. I wish the Nordics had that determination of saying here, but no further. Okay.
Yeah. The Nordic countries. They
Yeah.
do need that boundary, and he's recognizing
Right,
that they need
right,
it.
right. For sure. No, because they have a lot of protests and boycotts going on because of this. Very interesting out here. They have this. It's a song contest where a lot of European nations come together and every year, and yeah, they have like a person that represents. They have a song, and It's like a song contest basically, but it's very political, and things like that. And Israel is in the European Song Contest. They had opened it up for other countries besides just the Europe that we all know.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, and things like that. I always thought that was weird when I first came to Norway. I'm from Oklahoma, so African American living. You probably know already. Just in case you don't, I live in Norway. I've been in Norway since 2012.
Nice.
But anyway, let me see. He's J Home. That's how ABBA came to become famous. Okay.
Oh, like from a song contest?
Yeah, from the song
Nice.
contest. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this guy James. I think he's been in Norway longer than I have. So
Nice.
yeah. I think he goes back and forth in this from the States and Norway and stuff like that. But that's correct. That's how ABBA became famous through the Euro Song Contest. It's been around for I think 70 years or some shit like
Wow.
that. Yeah, long time. There's a movie with Will Ferrell. Like I said, it's called Euro Song Contest. It's
I have
hilarious.
not seen. I guess I'm
Yeah.
out of the loop. I'll watch
Yeah,
it.
no. Well, I mean, a lot of Americans they don't know. I didn't know at all until I came to Norway. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But they have a vote, right? And so you have judges, a certain amount of judges. I think about 5 or 6 or something like that from each country or whatever. And the judges are kind of like influential with influencers, or kind of influential in the media, whatever, within the country. And then you have like a popular vote. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so, this was very telling. Um, it reflect, I think, kind of society and how people are looking at things, because the Eurovision results, the popular votes, well, the judges, they try to kind of, they didn't, they had them kind of low in the voting, but the popular vote pushed them all the way up to like
Wow.
number 5 or number 3, and that kind of tells you how society, I think, it's kind of telling, like, with all these protests and boycotts going on, I think it kind of shows that all a lot more people aren't so against Israel as you think.
Right.
When it comes down
Mhm.
to it. So that's a big talk out here in
Right.
Norway. And it's funny, I talked about it yesterday, and today the first video I saw in the online atheist community talking about it was Apostate. What's that guy? Apostate Prophet,
All right. Yeah.
or what's his name? Let me see.
No, I can't
Oh,
remember
my
his
bad.
name.
I'm clicking on it. Yeah, it's Apostate Prophet, that guy. So I noticed
Yeah.
he put a video about a couple hours ago. Another originator. No, anyway. So I talked about it the other day. I just kind of, yeah. But
He's got some good content, but he needs to stay away from David Wood. He's a bad influence. So
there you go.
if
That guy.
Apostate Prophet sees that you need to stop
Yeah,
hanging out with him.
yeah. That's the thing. Apostate Prophet. Yeah, that was a whole nother. Yeah, he some of his style I don't like, and then also messing with David Wood. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, you're about to say, your opinion on the Palestinian-Israel conflict. What's your take from
So a
what you
big
know?
part of the way that I see it is there's separately the Israeli government from the Israeli people. And
Right,
then over on the other side, there's separately, I consider the Palestinian government and the Palestinian people. The
right.
Hamas is awful. They are evil, in my opinion. And
Mm,
but so are the current leaders of Israel. But I
mm,
don't blame the people for that, right? I've known a lot of people. Currently, one of my closest friends, and has been for many years,
right.
is a fairly well-known opera singer in Israel, born and raised, and so that's just her whole
Mm,
lineage, her whole identity,
right.
and so I've talked to her a lot about it. She keeps me informed about the temperature of her society, the things that people are talking about, the attitudes people have, and even though I don't agree or even like a lot of what she says,
Yeah.
I recognize that generally the people who live in Israel are good people. They're
Mm,
just like any other country. They're just going to work, making friends, trying to make life work for them. They do want peace, but they have no idea how it could be achieved. It feels like an impossible dream to talk about peace, and they're afraid for their lives. They're surrounded by enemies, um, and they just don't know what the solution would be. But most of them are at this point in time wish Bibi Netanyahu would just be gone. They don't
mm,
like that he's in charge over there. They hate it. They
right,
do blame him for a lot of the way things happened. He was
right,
warned in advance about what was going to happen, not
right,
exactly what and exactly when, but he knew that Hamas was mounting for something. It was only a matter of time, and he
right,
just didn't take it seriously. And so what Hamas did was just straight up evil. But at
right.
the same time, man, it's just
But but, you get some pushback on that. They were like, what helped breed Hamas? You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah,
right.
and and
So different things like
uh,
religious extremism and
right, right,
isolationism,
right,
and
right,
and Israeli government historically did not treat them well.
right,
Some of their decisions and their behaviors cannot be excused or rationalized away. But
mm,
at the same time, peace has been possible to work towards. And I think that the people of Israel should have been demanding that of their government to say, hey, we at least need to be openly talking about a workable plan. We at least need some idea moving forward of how we might get to peace. Even if we can't do it right here and right now, where's the ideas? Where's the plan? Where's the
right,
general?
right,
You can't just keep things the way they are. They're only going to
right.
get worse if you do. And
So a two-state solution, or what have you? Would some people say? Are you
right.
for a two-state?
Well,
or
the two-state solution would have the pros and cons I talked about with the North and the South after the Civil War. If you
yeah,
keep them too isolated,
right,
the people on the Palestinian side will become increasingly religious, increasingly militant, and it will be a real problem for the people that live there and for the people in the adjoining nations.
yeah,
But if you completely open the border and just let them all out, you're going to be releasing a flood of people who are super violently angry at the people of Israel and at their government, and you're going to have a whole lot of carnage as results. So you need a systematic plan.
right,
One plan that I wish they would have done, they could have moved in big cruise ships, donated retired cruise ships. They could have built some new ones, and they could have, because there's that huge body of water there, and then
mm,
they could have put submarines in the water. You can't dig tunnels through water, right?
mm,
So that would
mm,
have helped create this safe zone there. Helicopters at the ready if you need them, submarines watching, and surveillance equipment, and then just say, look, we're not going to force you guys to go live on these boats, but we're setting them up with healthcare professionals and counselors that can help with PTSD and rehabilitation services for people with physical disabilities and everything else, and education centers and everything else. It's going to be clean, it's going to be organized, it's going to be safe. If you and your children want a future and you want to immediately get away from all this suffering and extremism, you can go here, right? And you can live this way, and the boats can be connected, and we're not going to isolate you from the rest of your community, and we can help sort it all out. And anybody that wants to stay on dry land, you can, but that means you're going to be continuing to be in the middle of the conflict that we still need a resolution to, and that's not going to be safe. You choose, and I think they should have at least made it available. And I think it would have been a way to start getting access, because right now, a lot of people that live in Palestine don't have an opportunity to mix with the people who live in Israel, to get to know each other as human beings. But if you can create a safe environment where they can go to, then where those kinds of interactions can happen, you're going to be creating a situation where people are progressing and maturing and healing. And everybody that doesn't want to do that wants to stay on the mainland in the middle of a conflict can, right?
right,
But I think it would have been a step in the right direction toward peace. And nobody was even talking about how do we get to peace. They were just trying to ignore the problem and hope it goes away, and that just doesn't work.
right, right. Man, James, what was your study of? You went to school.
So I have a master's degree in human studies.
Right, right. I could tell. Like I said, I wasn't ready. I was like, "Whoa, this guy is breaking in with some." Yeah, I was
Right.
like, yeah. So, human studies. Okay, cool.
So it kind of reminds me of Morgan Spurlock did
Yeah.
this cable TV show called 30 Days.
Uh-huh,
And what he would do is he would carefully vet the people, so it wasn't completely random, and he would take people of prejudices, but who have a certain mentality where they're capable of changing their mind, and he would have them stay with a host family of the demographic that the person is prejudiced against. So, if, for example, if they have this bad way of thinking about immigrants from Mexico, for example, then he would have them stay with an Mexican immigrant family for 30 days.
Yeah.
And at the end of that 30 days, every single time they ran the experiment, the person had abandoned their prejudices. They had said, I never understood the people in proper context. I had these ideas about who they were in my head that society had fed me, or my echo chamber, my cultural echo chamber had fed to me. But once I got to know them as people, they are beautiful, wonderful people. They are hardworking. They have great integrity. And I'm proud to call them my friends, right? And it happened every single time. And I think that was one of the most underrated shows that were ever on cable TV. So it's kind of like that. If you get to know somebody on a personal level, it's a completely different experience than just talking about people from inside of a cultural echo chamber.
What was your deconversion story? You're atheist, agnostic. What is your
Right. So
background? Short.
Short version, when I grew up, my mom church hopped. She had been indoctrinated into the idea that Bible equals God equals true. And she was raised to have unresolved daddy issues, severe daddy issues. And so she was always looking for some male authority figure that she could connect with and get approval from.
Damn,
And
that's deep.
right. So
Uh,
her dad didn't mean to set her up for that, but he did.
right.
And so she
Wow,
went
wow,
forward
wow.
from there,
Yeah.
looking for that in two places, down here on earth and up in heaven, both. So she would
Mm.
look for a man down here to validate her, but she would also, it was never quite enough because that's never going to be enough because the
Yeah.
human psychology, it's a trick to think that you can really get that from another human being. So then she would try to supplement that with God. So she would go around the different churches trying to find that feeling of connection between herself and a larger than life parental fatherly figure. And that really screwed her up for life. It really set things in a bad way for her. She never really escaped it. She's still stuck in that rut. But she's a covert clinical narcissist, and that's part of what happened to her.
Wow.
Because, right, they hollowed her out and left her with this dull, achy, unfilled center of her being that she's been trying to satisfy ever since. And it's quite unfortunate. So going forward from there, because she was so empty, how can I put this? She nurtured me in such a way that I would become an endless source of give to her endless source of take.
What's your age now?
Me, I'm 53.
Oh, okay.
Generation X.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom had me when she was only 14, so
Wow.
you know.
Is she still alive or?
She's still alive, and I haven't really talked to her in a while. She's
okay.
difficult to connect with because of her religion. Super hyper Christian conservative fundamentalist. Okay. And every conversation has to be all about the Jesus with her.
Wow.
So I grew up in an environment. She stayed the longest with Jehovah's Witnesses, but she didn't even stay there. She eventually moved on to other ones.
Were you in the Bible Belt, like Midwest, like I was?
So Southern Michigan. So we weren't technically in the Bible Belt, but the family that she grew up in was from the Bible Belt.
Okay.
And so the extended family was very much the same way. Right. And so I grew up with this idea that my virtue as a human being could be satisfied by finding people who want to take because they have a need that I can fulfill. So that set me up to be in abusive relationships because I was always finding really troubled, hollowed out women who needed me. And so the more I gave, the more I felt virtuous. The more I gave, the more I sacrificed of myself, the more virtuous I felt. And that was just setting me up for, abusive relationship after relationship. Well, once I recovered from that and realized what I'd been doing and broke the cycle, that's when I realized just how much Christianity played a role in setting me up for that paradigm. This idea that you need to find your worth and validation from someone external to you, and that you should be looking for every opportunity to self-sacrifice, to empty yourself out into nothing. And once I realized that that's what I've been raised to do, that it just opened up for me, and I'm like, oh, no, I got to get a million miles away from that.
Wow.
And that wasn't the whole thing, but that was like the most important part of the deconversion process for me. So now I don't currently identify with the atheist label. There's a few different reasons for that. One, the term atheist depends on a definition for theist. The term theist depends on a definition for God, and the term God is whatever people want it to mean. So with that being the case, I feel like atheist wasn't all that meaningful for me once I really thought about it. And I get why people use the word as a functional benefit, right? It's a way of saying there are theists over there and I'm not part of that. That's what the word atheist is meant to say. And I get that. There's some practical value in identifying yourself in that way. But another part of the problem I have is that I've recently really felt like the atheist community isn't inclusive enough. That Dr.
I agree. I definitely agree with you on that.
And so I just feel like maybe the label's a bit more polemic than I want to go for anyways. So my deconversion story was a lot more complicated than that. A big part of it ideologically was Star Trek. Star Trek played an instrumental role in my deconversion.
Wow.
Because remember the transporters, you get on a transporter and you end up somewhere else.
Yeah,
it occurred to me one day that those people were being killed and replaced with clones at another location. And then it dawned on me that Jehovah's Witnesses, when they talk about resurrection, what it really is a replacement. You're not coming back. You're being replaced with a perfect clone. Now that perfect clone would identify as you, but they've got a better body, they've got a better personality theoretically, they've got a whole new take on life. So fundamentally, their entire paradigm is going to be completely different than the one that you died with, right? It's just not the same person at all. And then I discovered philosophy and realized the ship of Theseus. And that's what we are. We're constantly being replaced with new parts. And so at what point do we say that that person is no longer the person they were 10 years ago, right? And this is part of the problem, because it just doesn't make any sense to say that I'm the same person. We do as a practical frame of reference, and I know I'm being long-winded here, and I apologize for that.
No, bro. I like it. I love it. Yeah,
So,
because I was gonna ask you what your take on the secular, humanist, agnostic. Is that what you?
right. So, man, it depends on the context, right?
If you know, people like labels, man.
Right. So here's part of the thing. When somebody uses the word God, usually they're talking about awe, A-W-E, awe. Now, there's a good kind of awe and a bad kind of awe. The good kind is when you're awestruck in a positive way, you're totally enamored, overwhelmed with the beauty and awesomeness of something. But then there's the bad kind of awe, which was the original meaning of the word. The bad kind of awe is like dragon fear. It's you're awestruck in a terrified kind of way. Something is so much bigger than you and more powerful than you that you're just like frozen and paralyzed in fear. The two awes. So back in the day, the Greeks had various gods or beliefs, ideas of gods. Right. And there were some gods that they were afraid of. They didn't worship them. They didn't have a good opinion of them. But they didn't also want to get their attention because they didn't want to get stepped on by the gods they didn't like. So they had both kinds of awe that they were openly talking about. So when people talk about that, here's part of the problem for me. If somebody were to convince me that by necessity there must have been a prime mover, there must have been a universe creator. Now, they haven't convinced me of that, but let's say that they did. I still wouldn't be a theist because I wouldn't feel awe about it, right? I'm so unimpressed with this universe, and I hate to say that, I'm just not impressed, that if I honestly believe somebody designed and created it, I wouldn't call them a god, because it's a title of reverence. It's a crown of words to say, I'm really impressed with this entity and what it has done. And I wouldn't be that impressed, so I still wouldn't be a theist. I would say that's a god to you, but it's not a god to me, right? And so I guess you could call me a vicarious theist, in that I recognize other people have conceptualized entities that they really do worship. And I recognize that sometimes people worship actually existing entities. People worship the sun while the sun exists. People worship other people while the other person exists. So in that context, their God exists, but he's just not a God to me. So for me, when I say I'm not a theist, I mean I'm not impressed with the universe. But somebody else being not a theist, they mean they don't believe it was created. So I just use words a bit differently. That's all.
Right. Did you catch that comment down there on the screen? Chris Moore.
Chris Moore.
Look
at the trees or monkey brains, just trying to live. Right.
And I added you as a moderator, man. If you know, on for my channel,
awesome.
If you ever come in,
appreciate that.
You know, definitely. Now, yeah. Oh shit, man! You've been breaking it down. I wasn't ready for that today. I'm sorry. I was about to go over some articles about
we can do that.
Housing inequality and ownership, and how the property tax system harms Black homeowners and things like that.
I'd like to hear about those things, actually.
Yeah. We'll get into that. Let's see. And also, it was just something funny that happened about this California man. Let me see. I'm gonna share the screen.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, here goes Jay Home. I loved it. I know you did, my brother. This James is sharp. James,
appreciate it.
Sharp. Let me see. I was gonna check this out. And I'm learning, man. So if I cut somebody off, I'm serious. You caught me at the infancy stage, man, when it comes to streaming.
Oh no. Well, I know you've got an established and well respected credential in the community. Like whenever somebody mentions you in another channel, it is always with respect. Always.
Wow, brother. Wow.
I mean, that's why I'm here today. So
No, I appreciate it, man. Because I've seen you around, like
Oh
I
yeah,
remember, yeah, a bunch, and I was like, and I kept on thinking you were that one guy that comes on the line, and I think his name is James as well, or somebody else that you look like through the through the thumbnail or whatever.
could
Now
be.
that I see that your thumbnail is bigger on the screen now I can see the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me see. No, I was gonna share the screen. Oh, the other day I was telling the brother on the a friend that lives in Baltimore about this book right here. This very interesting book. This is one of the latest books I've got. It's called the 272. But the 272 slaves or people that the families who were enslaved and sold to build the American Catholic Church. This is
Wow.
really a good book right here.
Well,
Talk
that sounds wonderful. I'm definitely
Right,
going to dive into that one.
right. And they talk about how they, what is now Georgetown, they were in 1838. A group of America's most prominent Catholic priests sold 272 enslaved people to save their large mission project, what is now Georgetown University. And it gets a lot into, this
Right.
story and stuff like that. But anyway, let me see. No, I was gonna share a screen. I'm a kind of a jack of all trades. I'm into kind of the culture in a way, and comedy, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, anti-racism. Getting a little bit into comparative religion and all kinds of
Right.
stuff, man. Let me see. Is it? I think it's sharing right now. Yes, sir. Anyway, I found this funny right here. Can you see it on the screen?
I can see it.
Yeah, this right here, people. Artful rebellion in California. California man thwarts city officials with this boat mural. I thought this was funny. Let me see.
Eastside California man was ordered by the city to put up a fence to hide his boat from public view, and his response was a work of art. Literally, he had an artist friend paint a realistic picture of his boat on the 6-foot-tall fence.
Gosh.
Instead of seeing a boat in the man's yard, you now see a mural of the boat on the fence in the man's yard.
That's
The boat
hilarious. Oh man, they didn't go all the way there. Let me see. It's a short
Right,
little
so
video. Oh,
not
what
only
happened?
for African Americans in California, but nationally
Let
and
me
internationally.
refresh. Let me refresh that. Do.
Eastside California man was ordered by the city to put
Oh,
up a
26
fence to
seconds.
hide
Oh.
his boat from public view, and his response was a work of art. Literally, he had an artist friend paint a realistic picture of his boat on the 6-foot-tall fence. Instead of seeing a boat in the man's yard, you now see a mural of the boat on the fence in the man's yard. The boat
Petty. I guess it doesn't go all the way through, but it's all good. We get the gist of it.
Yeah.
No, I found that funny. That was one of the funny news of the day. Let me see. No, I was in a couple of articles that were interesting this wasn't saved, but this is because I talk about inequality and systemic racism and things like that. A lot housing inequality, black homeowners that won't catch up at this rate for over 300 years, but they could with a 1.7 trillion affordable housing plan. Speaking of that, while I got you on the horn, what do you think about reparations, man? What's your thought on reparations?
I'll be honest, I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. I get
Right,
I get the supporting idea behind it, right?
Right.
And so moving forward, we can't go back in time, of course, to make things right, but we
Right.
can restructure our society to make things better and move towards right as quickly as we can moving forward. And
Right.
the fact is, right here and right now, black people in America and many other countries are disadvantaged in a very rigged system. It's a very real thing, and I think that constantly does need to be addressed. And if that means spending money to try to right the wrongs of the system in order
Right.
to make it equitable, in order to make it healthy moving forward, then that's absolutely what we should do.
Right. And Yeah, because there's a lot of discussions going on within the African American community back home in the States. Some African Americans consider themselves foundational Black Americans. They're trying to delineate from other Black Americans. It's an interesting time that's going on within
It
Black
is.
people right now. They're trying to delineate. You have one group trying to delineate. You heard of ADOS, African Descendants of Slaves, and then you got a group called FBA, Foundational Black Americans, where they're trying to delineate from other Black people or Africans, or especially the ones that are coming from overseas and things like that. And then you got like the thing that's going on in Chicago with the immigrants and immigration, how they're very upset with the Chicago city mayor and things like that, and think they don't do enough for Black people in the impoverished areas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of anger, when it comes to that. And also, like I said, the reparations talk, how they always feel that the other groups of society has got some form of reparations, like the Holocaust survivors' ancestry from them, Jewish Americans, or the Native Americans, shit, the even the Japanese people that were in those internment camps and things like that. And they feel that we always fought for other groups. I mean, even during slavery times, where Frederick Douglass was known for fighting against the Chinese Exclusion Act and certain things. We always been, African Americans have been on every major war that America has had, and a part of every, everything, and we get kind of like treated like that.
Yeah.
It's very
Right. A big part of the problem is that we've got old white racists in
Yeah.
high powers in the country, like not just running corporations, but running the country itself. And
Right.
that's a deeply embedded problem that we've absolutely got to move past.
Right. Did you come across that fact about the speaking of politics with the Donald Trump thing, that I had read an article not too long ago, when they tallied up some numbers. They were claiming that the women, it was up, the vote for Donald Trump when he got in office, it was about 40% women.
Wow.
I was surprised when I heard that.
Me too.
Uh,
I mean, I'm sure there's psychosocial factors for how that would be the case. And I think part of it is the sexism that is deeply embedded into the American psyche raises a lot of young girls who, of course, grow into women with this idea that they need to be subject to male authority, right? And so they're so many are conditioned to that idea that they vote accordingly, I think.
Oh Lord. Hot take. American race labeling is a form of genderification. What do you think he means by that there?
I'm not sure. If I remember correctly, Chris Moore doesn't identify as
oh, okay,
African. He's I think if he's Canadian, French Canadian, I think.
Okay.
But he's got darker skin, and so sometimes people will just throw a label onto him that maybe he doesn't identify with. I don't want to speak for Chris. I could be remembering it correctly, but that's
And Chris, you can click on the link as well if you want to come in the studio in the chat. You can.
Yeah, he's been on my show before. I love talking to Chris Moore.
Yeah. You can go. I pinned it, so I learned how to pin today. So right. I pinned the link up top, and you can come in the studio, and we let you in, and you can.
Right. So I love the idea of a future America and a future world where race just doesn't comport, right? That there
of course.
Absolutely, where somebody could mention race and people would be like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah, of course.
But that's not where we're at right now, right? Right now we have people that are demographically mistreated, that they are denied equal access to what they need in order to live well, healthy and safe peoples. And so as long as that prejudice, as long as that racism is happening, then we just have to identify it as a race issue. We have to say there's racism happening. There's disenfranchised and disadvantaged demographics.
Right.
And they are a people, and they do need respectful help. Not every single person, right? There are
Right.
plenty of people who might identify as, for example, African American, that
Right.
don't want to wear a certain label, or that don't want to be grouped in with everybody else that might
For
be
sure.
all right.
Well, you can understand why a lot of them don't want to be grouped in with us, man.
Yeah, I understand. And I just tell people, hey, if your narrative of identity is different, then go have whatever that is. Go.
Right. Have you heard about that police? Obviously you probably did. The police that killed the black citizen that went inside their house. He was in the Air Force. I used to be in the Air Force myself, so that kind of caught my attention a bit. The guy named Roger Fortson or whatever, he was ambushed, killed. And have you heard that story?
I did not hear that story.
Yeah, where they he kind of answered the door. He had a gun in his hand, but it wasn't drawn towards the cop. Oh, here goes Chris right here. Let me see. I'm gonna let him in. What's
Hello?
going on, Chris?
I'm doing good. You? And also, I'm doing good, gents.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Awesome. Where are you located I know you're in the States. What state?
I'm not in the States, actually.
Oh, okay. Are you overseas like me, huh?
From Canada.
Canada. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Hello?
James mentioned that.
Oh, crap.
Hello? Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you, Chris.
I can hear you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're in Canada. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ontario, to be more specifically. But yeah,
Okay.
Eastern Ontario.
Okay. That means you were going for Drake in this little rap beef, huh?
I don't really listen to listen to hip hop.
No, I got you. I'm just fucking with you.
Like my thing about what I was getting at when I had the comment is that technically, to me, like the fact that you basically African Americans, blacks, Asians, and everywhere is like kind of like insisted upon, and for me that is actually biracial and also have like a mixed ethnic family. Right into my like straight branch. It's basically like, okay, why does this exist again? Kind of like like not saying that. I'm not saying that racism and all that stuff with all the baggage just do it, but it's just for me. It's just a foreign, not exactly a foreign concept, but it's just weird because like
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. A lot of people outside of America, especially when I came to Norway. I live in Norway, by the way, if you don't know already. Although I'm American. But they asked me the same thing about when it comes to us in America, with like when we take the census forms and things like that, when we tick off race and all that, they find that crazy, and so I get how people outside of America look at us when it comes to the race labeling as being ridiculous.
And as for me, like my like the root branch, or what I would say, like the well, if you label anything on me, is that I prefer to see myself as a French Canadian, even though technically I'm a
so you don't want nobody calling you biracial?
Well, I am biracial technically. Well, because my father's from the Caribbean and I don't really speak to him. But anyway, that's a story.
What Caribbean country, by the way?
Barbados.
Barbados. Okay, Bajan. All right. Cool.
Yeah. And
so you don't, of course, you don't really identify with that so much because you didn't really have that deep of a relationship with that.
Well, for all intents and purposes, I basically grew up on my mother's side. Pretty much.
Got you.
And so like for all intents and purposes, I'm just uh, kind of a white boy with like a different skin tone, I
No, I
guess,
got you. No, I got you.
in a way,
Right,
and
right.
and my cousins actually. I got two cousins from my uncle who are are Italian
Right,
still, basically my mother's
right.
sisters, and also my eldest cousin is quarter Chinese and quarter Latino
Wow.
mix on top of that.
Multinational. Right,
And
right.
at the same time, there's also uh, possible, on on the other branches, if you go back to my grandparents' generation, basically there's also indigenous on some sides of it, not technically on my branch directly, but still like on both sides
Uh-huh.
of them, and it's just like anyhow, it's crazy, but to
Well, let me
explain
t-
all
let
this,
let me
yeah.
ask you this. Let me ask you this. If we was to drop you off in a small village town in Russia, what do you think they would call you, or they
Oh,
would look at you as?
oh, I know that they would call me black.
Okay. All right. I
It's
just wonder.
just, it's just that, it's just that it's not a. It's just
No,
that for
I
me,
got what you're
yeah,
saying. I got what you're
yeah,
saying. I would just,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like, but
Right,
without a doubt, like you know, and
right, right.
even other people that have hopped on, even briefly.
They would use the hard
Yeah,
R. They would end with the hard R on you, huh?
well, not really the hard R, but it's like it's like
No,
dude,
I got
boy, but and whatever. But it
No,
doesn't
no, I
really
got you.
matter.
No, I get what you're saying. What's your by the way, what's your religious background or non-religious background or whatnot? Just
Uh,
curious.
Catholic.
Okay. Oh, you
However,
are you are a Catholic.
ex-Catholic.
Okay, got you. Yeah, yeah.
Roman Catholic or whatever
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you want to
I was
label it. Yeah.
right. Right.
But it's just for me is that I basically grew up with a very liberal household. I say kind of
Okay.
liberal, like progressive liberal,
Yeah.
loosely,
Yeah.
because around my mother's time, right in the 60s, 70s, there's something that's called the Quiet Revolution,
Okay.
and in basically mostly Quebec, but it also affected the French communities
Got you.
in that. And what would happen is prior to that, every institution of education or even hospitals, whatever, would be basically be run by like religious groups.
Yeah.
And post that, there's also the fact that there's like the whole Quebec separation thing with the
Mm,
FQ and all that kind of crap. But
right, right.
that's anyhow. So so in a way, we post like the 70s at most, at latest. There's been like a secularization,
Yeah.
and on top of that, my family was pretty much well educated, meaning that basically, like my grandfather was a gym teacher
Okay.
and went to Ottawa U,
Mm,
and then after that, my mother basically was a pharmacist, and
mm.
she got her degree in Saskatchewan,
o-
ironically, because of
Okay.
that. But anyway, so and so basically, we were always like not one step ahead of the curve, but it's like the LGBTQ issues doesn't wasn't
Mm,
really much of a problem. Like not saying that the environment is, but in the household, basically, it was basically like there are people just like us.
right, right.
Why are you making a story about it and stuff like that?
Mm,
So yeah, not saying that
yeah.
we're perfect, but still.
No,
So
nobody is, man. I had a whole bunch of issues growing up to myself, man, with my family. So
yeah,
I get it. I understand for
and
sure.
for me, especially like, well, okay, that's more of the thing is also that I have cerebral palsy. So
Okay, okay,
and
well, okay.
well, that's one of the things that's I think that you wanted to touch on about healthcare and stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah,
well, for me, as a Canadian looking on American society, I think it's
mm,
stupid.
I
Sorry for
feel you.
saying this, but
No,
I
no, I,
feel that
I
it's
feel you because, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I feel you on that because Canada and Norway is pretty similar when it comes to the healthcare system.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I noticed all of those things when I moved to Norway in 2012.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's just like I don't understand why this mentality of you have to, um, uh, bootstraps type of mentality,
mm,
and that's just like a big like what the fuck in a
right,
way
right,
because
right.
for me I because of the healthcare system my
Yeah,
mother was able to raise three kids because I
right,
got two other siblings by the way
right,
and she was able to raise me to have a
right.
proper education because I have actually
So you guys kind of got similar to like how they have in Norway, whereas not only free medical and healthcare, you guys got like free college, right, as well.
not
And
free not
okay,
free
but well,
but
it's definitely not, but
was
not free, but it's definitely not like in America. I'm sure it's a lot cheaper than that.
well the thing is how the system goes is that you pay higher in taxes
Mm.
in
Yeah,
Texas,
yep, yep,
but
yep, yep.
there's no like unless you're really like you're going to fraud territory, you won't be refused,
Okay,
for healthcare, and if you like especially if you're diagnosed
yeah,
with a doctor and all that stuff. So
right, right.
so yeah. Anyway, sorry I have to go, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good, man. Come by some other time whenever I get on live, man. I appreciate it. We can talk a little bit more about the kind of like the differences with Canada and Norway and some other things, man. I
All
appreciate you
right,
on my channel
all right.
though, man. For real.
No, thank
All
you,
right,
and
all right,
see you guys around.
for
Okay,
sure. Have
bye.
a good one, brother. Hey, James.
Either.
Now he put up a good subject actually. Yeah, yeah, the healthcare. I'm not one of these guys that go on there and like, yeah, the difference with Norway and the difference with America and things like that. I usually get into, I guess I get so caught up talking about like religion and also
Yeah.
the civil rights and certain other, I like bigger issues, I think. And then I forget about sometimes I'll be forgetting I'm in Norway, man. I swear to God. Because most of the people I conversate with kind of online, and then also Americans out here in some ways. Yeah, I sometimes when I go online and I do my thing, I have a tendency to lead people to believe that I'm in America, but I'm actually out here in Oslo, Norway. But so yeah, the differences with healthcare and things like that. What is your thought? That was a good segue into that. I always tell people, I said, just because a lot of Norwegians say the same thing that this Canadian guy says. They always, you know, they mimic the things about, the census form and classifying our race. They find that ridiculous. And they also get into the healthcare talk. How, it's unbelievable how the US can't provide this and that. And, I'm no expert in all of it, but I've always, in my mind, I was always think, not everything that works here would necessarily work in America. You
Right.
know, with various factors, probably the sheer numbers and just how our. Yeah, go ahead. You're about to say something. I can feel it.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. Now, there are
Right,
some things that wouldn't work here because of logistics, like you said.
right,
But there
right.
are some things where
But our ideals, not only that though, are how how Americans are. We got the extremes on everything.
yeah.
I swear to God, if there was something that was working for everybody, there's always this small fucking group, especially in America, man, more than any other country in the world, that will rise up and be anti this and anti that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Well,
America is not,
yeah.
and you can articulate that better.
I mean, that's just what I was getting ready to say. There are some
Yeah.
people in America where when they say that a given idea wouldn't work here, what they mean is we won't let it work here. That's what they mean.
Real talk. There you go. Yep. I don't think they would. Basically, I don't think they would allow it to work there.
Right. Even if it could, even if they just got out of the way and could let it work, they wouldn't want it to succeed because they have a certain idea about how they want to keep the country. They want to keep the advantage. They want to keep the privilege. They want to be able to have somebody to feel better than, right? They want to have someone to punch down on.
Right.
And if you correct the problems of the system and create a just, fair, equitable system.
Wait, now you're talking about white supremacy. You're getting into the there you go. Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing. It's it takes many forms. Now, there's obvious forms of white supremacist type people, that are marching in the streets, but there's not obvious forms too. There's people who low key pretend to be totally not a racist, but they're a racist. They just don't want to own it. And part of the problem with racism is the same thing with sexism.
Right.
There are people that have convinced themselves that the reason they're not really a sexist against women, or the reason they're not really a racist against people that are of dark pigmentation, is because they believe that these other categories of human are less able, and that it's a biological thing. And so what they're doing is, quote unquote, recognizing the difference and taking the lead and helping out in that way. And my point is, I get why you think that, because you've been hearing from bullshit sources that have sold you on a lie, right? And so this is how they can be racist and sexist, etc., and not know that they are, because they think there are biological differences that they're simply trying to account for in the need for differences in power. And I'm like, no, you just like your power. And the people that talked you into thinking that it needs to stay that way lied to you about what the real facts are about biology,
right,
and culture.
Man, two things just came to mind, and I think you're a guy I can definitely ask and talk about while you were talking. Well, the second one will be bigger and probably longer, more time for that. But the first one, remember the guy Chang? Was it Chang that was going for like universal? What was it? Universal.
Andrew.
When he was running, that was back in the day, not too long ago.
Andrew something. I think maybe it was Yang.
Yeah, Andrew Yang. Yeah. And he was, what was he going for? He was promoting universal, like a universal pay, where everybody come out. What was your thoughts on that whenever he was?
So there,
and of course, I knew he wasn't going to. I knew they weren't going to. He wasn't going to go far. But
no, that's political suicide in today's climate.
Right.
It's quite ironic, but it's the too far, too fast thing. We might be with him. He might be right, but there are just too many people who would refuse to support it, and there's just no way he can get elected within the context. So it's just like trying to run as an atheist. Like, you might as well forget it.
Right.
So, universal basic income. It's been an experiment that a village in Canada ran as an experiment like decades ago.
That's how I was reminded of that, because the Canadian guy and in these other go ahead.
And it's been tried in different ways in different places, in different countries at different times. It always works out well. It always is a net sum positive that actually has greater financial gain than the expense of doing it. But so many voters are undereducated about the issues, and they rely on mass media sources, politicians and official mass media sources, and cultural echo chambers. They rely so heavily on these sources of input for their worldview that they don't know that they've been sold a bill of goods. They don't know they've been lied to about the way things work, even in terms of economics. And so you mention these ideas, and they're like, who's going to pay for it? They're like, you're going to come from my check. You're going to raise my taxes. You're going to make it harder for me to live. I ain't having none of that. Right. But they're not ready for the real conversation where their taxes wouldn't have to go up. We need to tax the rich. Right. And we need to be more equitable and more reasonable going forward. So, there's lots of different facets of the solution, but it would work, right? It would raise everybody out of poverty, and the economy would be stronger in the end, because now you have a whole lot of people with enough money to spend to continue to support the economy. So if you make it to where most of your working class people can't afford to go out there and spend money, other than paying their rent and their gas money and whatever, then you don't have enough money circulating in the economy. You need to have the people, and you can't just print more dollars, right?
No. Right.
You've got to do it in a smart, systematic kind of way.
Right.
So, yeah.
What's your thoughts on the and this is not my the second big question, the bigger question yet. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the Russian-Ukrainian conflict a bit, and the money that the government keeps pouring over to Ukraine? What's your thought on that?
I got mixed thoughts about Ukraine. On one hand,
Right.
I can understand why the people of Ukraine did not want to just give themselves over to Russia, because they don't like the way things are done in Russia, and they like their independent culture and their political and financial autonomy. But at the same time, Putin had done military attacks on them in the past. They know he's capable of it, that it's not just talk. So they needed to go to the what do you call that global military
NATO.
They needed to go to NATO and tell them, either you guys let us in, or we're going to have no choice but to go ahead and be adopted into Russia. It's one of the two. You're going to have to. And I think that's what they should have done. If NATO refused them, they should have joined Russia. And here's why I think so. It's just a matter of time before Putin dies. He's still struggling with cancer that most people don't talk about openly, publicly. And, people change, times change. And there would have been some changes that they would have to make as part of Russia. But in the longer run, you save more lives, you have more positive change that they just would have signed on. If the NATO hadn't agreed to let them on, then they should have went ahead and said, okay, we're going to go ahead and get adopted by Russia, and then hammered out a truce, a deal where they get to keep as much of their autonomous culture as they can, right? Where he just expects some of their resources to be dedicated to the larger pool, but only so much, and then agreed upon pre-agreed upon amount. And as long as they could hammer that out, where they have a degree of a respectful autonomy, but still are part of the larger Russia family, then I think that's what they should have done. Now, the real reason that our political leaders didn't want to see that happen is because we were liking the idea, our leaders were liking the idea of being able to test our new military toys by giving them to Ukraine to see how they do in real live armed combat, because we don't have enough of that going on of our own right now. So they're testing our weapons for us and our strategies for us, and we in turn get to see them weaken the infrastructure of Russia so that they become less of a threat to American interest on the global stage. So our political leaders had dirty reasons for encouraging Ukraine to remain separate from Russia, and from encouraging NATO not to accept Ukraine. Our leaders had very bad reasons for that. But at the same time, moving forward from here, it's kind of intractable. Like, we can't just right now, it's not realistic for Ukraine to surrender to Russia, because they've already lost and invested so much. It would be too demoralizing, and there's too much anger between the people of Russia and the people of Ukraine now, right? There's just too much polemics going on in their media about about what the enemy is really like, and too many people have bought into that, where most of the people who are just Russians, normal Russian families, are the same as the people in Israel, the same as the people in America. They're just going to work, making friends, trying to make a living, trying to get by, right? And that's it. They're just regular people, but their leaders have their own agendas. Now, I do think that the leader of Ukraine is not a bad guy. He just didn't understand everything in the larger context when he made some of the decisions that he made. Now it's too late to go back. You can't undo it. So it's kind of like the Israel Palestine thing. The opportunity for peace was easier before, Now, with the way things have devolved, it's going to be harder going forward, right? There's going to be more bloodshed going forward, no matter what they do.
Right.
Very unfortunate. So, I feel for the people of Russia. I feel for the people of Ukraine. I wish the Ukrainian leader had been more aware of what was really happening, how he was being manipulated, and I wish that the people of Russia would realize how manipulated they are by Putin and their media. Some of them realize it. Some of them know what's up, but too many of them have bought into the the propaganda, and that's a serious problem. So, when people came from over in England to settle in America, they were trying to get away from religious oppression. But it's ironic because then America became religiously oppressive,
Yeah.
and the country they fled from became very secular and progressive. And
Yep.
if they just would have stayed there and
Speak
helped,
that speech.
yes, they
Yes,
could have
sir.
just stayed at home and
Yep.
helped make their country better. They could have
Right.
helped move it forward, and they wouldn't have needed to come over here at all
Right.
and steal land from the Indians and torture
Right.
them and kill them and all that crap. So
Have-
it's never black and white. There's always
It's
always
complex.
some
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always complex.
Absolutely. Have you seen that? By the way, have you seen the film Civil War?
I don't think that I have.
Oh, okay. It's you heard about it though, right?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was just because of, a lot of talk about, and then they gave a poll and survey about how many Americans think it was a quite high percentage of Americans that think that there'll be a civil war in America within, I don't know if they say by 2050 or some shit like that. I don't know. What's your take on on those talks?
It's not. If
Yeah,
the way they describe it, no, it just couldn't happen because
right.
how are you going to do that? Because
Right.
most of the people that you're going to pass on the street or see
Right.
at a grocery store, you're not going to have no idea what their political.
There you go. Right.
Who are you going to shoot? You
Right.
don't know. And so no, that would just be absolute chaos, and
Right.
it would just tear down the already fragile fabric of our country.
Correct.
Honestly, if they want a quick solution, surrender to Canada or surrender to Norway, surrender to New Zealand, unconditional surrender to a friendly nation that has its shit together,
Right,
and
right.
then they'd be done with it. Now, of course, America's not going to do that, but
Right.
my point is, there's not going to be a quick solution. There could be if we were to think outside the box, but people aren't ready for that.
Right.
So going forward, it's going to be messy. There's just no way around it.
Now the big one that I was gonna. Well, I got you on the horn. Racism. Your thoughts on race because you work with Myth Vision and all that. Racism within the atheist community.
It's a thing.
Because
There are prejudices within
because
the
I
atheist community.
because I had pointed some of those things out. And
Yeah.
things like that, and then you remember the whole Robert Price thing too, right?
I do. So it was interesting
Mm.
how many people, now not the majority, but there still were more people than I would have expected.
Before you
came
go, before you go in, hold all those thoughts. Did you know that? Because I had pointed this out to some other people that never knew this. That it's crazy how that happened. Did you know that Robert Price's first podcast interview was by a black guy?
I didn't know that, no.
You go on his YouTube channel. I don't know if he scrubbed it or took it off, but it might still be on there. But it's I think Reginald Finley.
All right.
Anyway, he had a podcast way back in the day. He was, in matter of fact, Robert Price said it himself on his YouTube channel. I believe it might still be on there. He even puts it himself. He writes down Robert Price, my first podcast interview, and it was by a black guy.
Wow.
Although Myth Vision or whatever kind of helped to popularize him even more, but his first podcast was by a black guy. So I find that ironic. But go ahead, man.
Sure. Now,
Yeah.
I felt bad for Derek getting caught up in it. He didn't know at first.
Yeah.
Right. He's a busy guy. Those discussions didn't come up between him and Robert. And
Right.
so when people started saying, you need to, there's some things about Robert Price you need to know.
Yeah.
At first, he wasn't really listening, and then when he was, he didn't believe him, and he was in denial. But he went
Yeah.
through these phases where eventually he's like, "Yeah, you're right, and I can't be part of this." And he tried. He's like, "You know what? I like Robert so much. We've been friends for so long. I'll bet I could have a discussion with him and bring him around. We can get this straightened out, and he'll apologize, and we'll grow and move forward together." And it didn't happen that way. Robert Price was not willing to own his bullshit. He was not willing to grow. He was not willing to be accountable. He was not willing to change his mind about anything really. And he was just deep into it. And it was interesting to me to notice this happening, because if you engage with Robert Price on any other topic, right, just about religion, he's sharp as a tack, and he's clear-headed, and he's reasonable, and he's balanced. But then when you get him talking about this other hyper-conservative bullshit, then all of a sudden his brain unravels. And I kind of think it's a form of rot, like psychological rot, that I think it's spread through mass media like Fox News. Right? There's the meme of your grandfather listening to Fox News, and like the poisoned serpent guy whispering in the king's ear, right? It's really unhealthy. Now, I understood that Derek went through phases, and I was, understandable about it. And I'm glad that he eventually reached this moment where he's like, yeah, I have to cut ties. What else can I do? I can't platform this guy anymore, right? And I can't be associated with that. There were very well-known academic persons who were like, now that I know this too, because they were part of the discovery, they're like, I can't be part of Myth Vision if Myth Vision is going to be part of Robert Price's thing at hand. And Derek understood that. And he's like, I've got to draw that hard line. He didn't want to have to. Now, for me, I was not really clear on the whole thing because I hadn't researched it yet. But when I saw him on Pine Creek, that discussion that he did on Pine Creek, and the first half of that interview is pretty mundane. It's pretty tame. But then the second half of the interview is when the shit really comes out in that interview with Pine Creek. And in the moment that really did it in for me was when he advocated for vigilante fatal violence against anybody who even looks like they might be guilty at a Black Lives Matter protest. If there's a scene, broken windows, screaming, or a fire, or people leaving, moving expensive TVs, you name it, anything that even looks like it might be a crime scene, and if you see somebody next to that crime scene that even looks like somebody who might be part of that woke mob, then shoot to kill, right? This was Robert Price's idea. And I'm like, dude, really? You want armed citizens going around doing vigilante justice at Black Lives Matter protests, shooting people dead who just look guilty because they're in proximity to a place that might be a crime scene? Really? And I'm like, that's crazy. And he refused to backtrack on it. He didn't backpedal at all. He stood his ground on that shit. And I thought, man, that is beyond the pale. You just cannot justify that at all. And think about that. Just, he wasn't, I still can't wrap my head around it when I think about it.
Right.
So
he goes, I want you to, I don't mean to cut you off. I was just you can always go back into it and hold your thoughts. Captive Desk, I guess he knows you, definitely.
Yeah, Captive Desk. He's got a good channel. His name's Dave.
Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dave, Captive Desk. James is always on when I'm outside. For sure. Oh, and before you do that, I want to, real quick, share my screen and show you, because I've said this. Come on, let me see. Why didn't it share a screen? Share a screen, damn it. There we go. Real quick. Let me say, boom. All right. Now, look at the screen, people, or people who's going to come to this video later. There's Robert Price's YouTube channel. Official. You see? Now, there's a video right here on his channel. Right there. And what does that say? Just in case people think I've been making this up. You know what I mean? Because I said this in
Mhm.
several interviews. That was funny. What does that say right there on his channel? The infidel guy that's Reginald, not Richard. I keep on calling him Richard. I interviewed him on my live a while ago. There's another interesting fact about Reginald Finley as well. The R&B group called 112. He was a part of that original group as well. I learned that when I interviewed him. Anyhow, Reginald Finley, who I follow and he follows me on Facebook, he was the first one. You see that? Price's first podcast interview ever. And Robert Price. That's on his channel right there.
Wow.
2001. So that's why I find that ironic, you know. Anyhow, so
I think the
for the people that didn't know, huh?
I think the implication is there. I can't be a racist. I let a black person interview me.
You know, exactly. No, but I had to show that because people, they thought I'd just be talking on my ass, man. Come on, man. I'm like Daniel McClellan. You know what I'm saying? That over Dogman, bro.
There you go.
I'm gonna show Daniel McClellan, right?
Yeah, Dan McClellan.
What's your thoughts on him? Because he reminded me of something else I wanted to show you too, and share other people share the screen. Because every time he goes live, I miss him because I want to ask him something in particular. But go ahead. What are your thoughts on Daniel McClellan, man? And like he always shows the T-shirt right before he starts. Well, my T-shirt, I don't have enough money to have all them T-shirts, but my T-shirt of the day, ready to die from the Notorious B.I.G. first album.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's him as a baby. Yeah. Anyway, that's my T-shirt of the day. I'm coming off like Daniel McClellan. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm Gen X, so I grew up with that music. So
right. Yeah. So what's your thoughts on him?
So he's a brilliant communicator for academic,
scholar. Critical scholar.
And he is cultural Mormon, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't discuss his religious beliefs in the public square. He just won't do it.
Right.
But I think it's a brilliant move because even though he recognizes how much bullshit is baked into Bibles and Bible-based religion, he still identifies with a biblical religious demographic. That keeps him relevant and it keeps him in a position of influence with religious thinkers.
He know what the fuck he doing.
He knows what he exactly.
So for sure. But part of you, I know in your mind you're like, oh, what you're trying to fathom. So do you believe? Because I listen to him a lot of his clips, but I want to find the one when he kind of really gets into the Mormon, because I know in your mind, like, how do you justify being, like, kind of, people in their mind, I know they're thinking, how smart he is and how critical he is and all these things, and he's just blowing up the, spot over there. And how is he justifying himself of being kind of a Mormon or whatnot, and people can't wrap that around their heads. Right. I know that's one thing. Right. But and I know he's progressive and all these things. But speaking of that, he's seeing what's going on in the culture and in some of these other Myth Vision and some of these other channels and see the topic of the day, because I remember there was one topic on Myth Vision he was talking about, then he went and talked about it on his channel, but very progressive. But there was something I found this very interesting. I had and whenever I think I've heard or seen every black fact, I end up finding something I never knew. And I thought about Daniel McClellan. And I'm about to find this so that I can show you. Let me see. It's right on my likes. Let me see. It's a trailer of a movie about supposedly, I believe, a historical character. Mm-hmm. And let me see. Where you at, buddy? Here it is. His name is Greenflake. Have you ever heard of that?
It doesn't sound familiar now.
No. Correct. Let me see. There we go. Yes, sir. I'm about to share the screen so I can show you. That's the question I want to ask him and see what he says about this guy, or this movie, or his take on this. Share the screen. Boom. Here we go. All right. His name is Greenflake. Now, this is a trailer. My Elise Studios award-winning trailer. Now, this was in 2021. Award-winning trailer for the groundbreaking feature film. His name is Greenflake. Greenflake was a 19-year-old enslaved young man when sent to track over 1,000 miles across the worst conditions imaginable in 1847. Greenflake led what would be the largest pioneer migration in American history. In the film, we follow the life of Greenflake and other enslaved and free pioneers in the early Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Wow, interesting.
Exactly. I wonder if you know about that one. Huh?
I don't yet, but I'm gonna.
No, but I not just you. I'm talking about him.
Yeah.
I wonder if he knew about that one.
I don't know, but I do know that I'm glad he is where he is, right? Because
no, I am too. I appreciate the guy, man. I post a lot of his stuff, man.
We see a lot of interesting changes happening. With the if you remember, the Catholics they forced their pope into early retirement and replaced him with the newer pope, who was more progressive. And even though he wasn't as progressive as we wish he were, it's definitely forward momentum for the church. Now, the church did that in order to avoid dying out, because most of their members were elderly, and most of the young people were like, I ain't buying into this bullshit. So the Catholic Church was forced to grow. Now, it kind of pretends to have grown, but while the leaders of the Catholic Church are pretending to have grown, the followers are believing it, and they're trying to keep pace with the growth. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And so it's forcing the church, as a result, to evolve into something that's less dangerous. And as long as that momentum holds, it will eventually be just another institution that, used to be awful, but isn't so awful anymore, right? Eventually. No, the same thing with the Mormon Church. The Mormon Church was founded by racists, blatantly
for sure,
absolutely racist. But more recently, they're trying to bury their past, right?
For sure.
Right. So, on one hand, I'm a little bit disgusted by the dishonesty of trying to.
So now, can you understand where I'm like, damn, I love this guy Daniel McClellan, but I hear him, but I don't hear him talking about, especially the Mormon Church compared to the other ones when it comes to the race relations and how much how progressive you are. I've been following you. Why ain't you ain't never. I ain't never heard of this Greenflake character. What?
Right.
Like I said, I might not be as articulate as you and papered up with degrees and all that, but I ain't no dummy. I does my research, man.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're respected in the community for that reason. Everybody knows you're bringing the actual factuals.
That's what's up.
So moving forward from there, I'm torn about it too. One part of me wants to completely expose the Mormon Church's racist past, and not even a distant past; it's even a recent past, right? And then the other hand, if what it takes for them to move forward and progress is to reimagine their journey, the religion's journey, and to lie to themselves about what they've been through and how they've got here. If that's what it takes, that's what the Quakers did when the part of the Quakers, the faction of Quakers who led the abolitionist movement, they had to lie to themselves about what the Bible says. They had to lie to themselves about what the message is in order to give themselves permission to grow, to evolve, to help bring about social change that people needed. And I see that happening with the Catholic Church. I see it happening with the Mormon Church. they have to lie to themselves and to each other about where they've been and where they're coming from in order to give themselves permission to do the growing that they need to do. It's an unfortunate facet of human psychology that a lot of people feel like they can't progress unless they've got permission from the daddy in the sky. And as long and daddy in the sky doesn't change, so they have, in order to be not racist, for example, they have to imagine that he's always been against racism. But that means that they have to hide, they have to bury their past. It's a catch-22. I'm divided on it. Part of me wants to blow it out of the water as the racist founded bullshit that it is. Yeah.
No, I'm touching the green with you, bro.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right?
Yeah.
And part of me wants to support it, to say if they have to lie to themselves, to give themselves permission and to give each other permission to move forward and progress, then maybe that's just what they got to do, right? So I see Dan McClellan in a position where he is a person of progressive secular values, and he knows,
I know he gets a lot into the cognitive.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right. So he's in a position right now. He's been helping the Mormon Church write a new translation of the Bible. He's been helping them.
He talks a lot about the SBL, and this other Bible. Oh yeah, I've been on this shit.
So he's in a highly influential position in his life where he knows he can't go back in time to right the wrongs of Mormonism, the church as it was historically. All we can do is meet them where they're at now and ask ourselves, how can we be a catalyst for change in the right direction here and now? He's in a position to do that. But if he comes out and says, hey, we were a racist, awful organization, there's no way God founded this, but I want to help you guys write a Bible, and I want to help you guys go forward, they're going to say, screw you, Dan, get out of here. Right. I get it. I get both sides of it. I'm torn about it too, just like you are.
Right.
But I think the end result will be, despite the ironies, I think it'll be a net some positive.
Right. No, I do too. I think he's doing a phenomenal job, and I'm just trying to, give him a little bit more nudge and say, hey, get a little bit deeper into the culture a little bit, man. Yeah. And the people that's gonna be coming into this, watching this, I'm gonna run this little trailer so we can see it. It's a minute. I'm gonna go over it again. Award-winning trailer for groundbreaking feature film. His name is Green Flake. 19-year-old enslaved young man that tracked over 1,000 miles across the worst conditions in 1847, which would be he led the largest pioneer migration in American history. The film, we follow the life of Green Flake and other enslaved and free pioneers in the early Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS. And here goes the trailer. I'm gonna run this bad boy so that people can see that, because I wonder if he even heard of it. And
when Massa come and it's freezing cold, what's the first thing he gonna do? Make fire. And what the slaves gonna do? Right.
The construction of winter quarters is imperative to our survival.
I'll come back for you.
Eat your breakfast, pack your things, say your goodbyes.
I promise.
It's gonna be hard enough getting there. What sense that make? Coming all the way back. So don't come back. Just survive. Ain't gonna be nothing here for you. Promise me. Run. Green, I want for you, I wouldn't be here.
We all made sacrifices. Only way we make it is together.
Now, granted, it wasn't a big budget, but inspired by the true story of a pioneer hero.
That looks powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm just saying that story is, you know, when people think of the LDS or the Mormon Church, especially black people of color, you know what I'm saying? We like, where we at in all this and stuff like
Right.
that. And I'm surprised he never brought this out. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just, you know, try and let the people them know. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the share screen. Boom. Anyway, so we can continue on with that discourse. Yeah. But no, I think he's doing phenomenal. I love how he's won like an award or some shit on being a public, right?
Yeah.
Public teacher or whatever online and things like that. What was your take? What was your thoughts on that? I know you checked it out. The Joe Rogan Gibby, what's his name? Gibby, the archaeologist?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I think it's Gibby or whatever. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, Dan McClellan is so tapped in to so many venues and so many.
No, not Dan McClellan. I'm talking about Joe Rogan and the Charles. What was this? Do you remember the archaeologist? Did you see that?
I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw part of it. Hold on.
Yeah.
I could try to find it in my history.
Let me see. I think it's Gibby. He had one of them.
Now, Myth Vision did just.
Oh, my bad, not Gibby. Flint Dibble is his name.
Okay.
Yeah, Myth Vision just interviewed him. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Because it had a big
which I think was brilliant. I told Derek so. I'm like, that's a brilliant move because now all the people that are following Joe Rogan, for example, or anything in that network, even if they're not subscribed to Myth Vision or never heard of it before, the algorithm will promote Myth Vision as relevant to their interests, and then they'll hear about this. Absolutely, it makes me want to do some streams about Joe Rogan too.
You know, facts, man. Yeah. He that was a brilliant move.
Yeah.
But did you? Damn, I forget. It was about 4.5 hour. 4.5 hour.
Yeah, I just saw part of it. I saw how long it was, and I was like,
yeah.
I've got like 15 tabs open right now of stuff I've started to watch and didn't finish yet.
Yeah, I'm like that. I'm like that sometimes. No, I was just asking you some of your thoughts on that.
I can finish it and come back and we can discuss it another time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but no, man, you pulled out some of that stuff from me.
I tend to be kind of long-winded. A lot of my friends know, be careful what you ask James, because if you don't limit him to 30 seconds or less,
oh no, man,
he's gonna just rant, man.
No, I like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of introvert, bro. I'm out here in Norway, and it's like I'm not out there in the streets and all that. Enough. You know, so I'm online, man, and I'm taking like a, you know, working and taking a course, and so I don't have too much of a personal life. So the personal life I do have is online with you guys.
Right. And the network. Some people call it the community, and I have mixed feelings about that, because on one hand I want it to be community, right? But at the same time, man, it's so complicated. Like there's just because a lot of people that are in the atheist community, secular community, came from fundamentalist religions. The problem is that when they come out of the fundamentalist religions, they don't get rid of all of the old junk right away. They have certain ways of thinking and ways of relating that aren't necessarily fair or healthy, and they haven't matured enough to notice those things about themselves and then get rid of that too, right? It's a process. And so we've got the purity culture, we've got sexism and racism, we've got gatekeeping, we've got schisms when people divide loyalties and gossip about each other, and you know, the community branches off into different groups because, you know, these people can't stand this person or whatever, and there's just a lot of dysfunction, and it's a human thing. Like, I'm not associating the dysfunction with atheism itself, right? It's just people are people, right? And so the most wonderful thing about the community is the people, but it's also the most terrible thing about the community is the people, the both. So and we talk about sexism, I think, more than we talk about the racism, but both are a problem.
Right. So who are your favorite YouTube channels when it comes to the atheism what are your or top 2 or top 3?
So right now, Durante Lamar, I think his last name. I just came from there earlier today.
Okay.
He and his wife have a live show, and
Okay, what is it called? Let me see.
hold on a second. I was just there before I came back from this one. Let me pull up my history.
Yeah.
What does he call his channel? Yeah, he just calls it by his own name, Durante Lamar, apparently.
Durant, how do you spell that?
So DARANTE LAMAR, and the E has like an apostrophe after it. And the topic today was how to create supportive community. And he's an ex-pastor, and I think he's been on Myth Vision before. He's been on.
That's a brother too. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's brilliant. I clip so many moments from his streams because he's still got that, because he was a pastor for so long. He's very charismatic, right? And it's fire, man. He just drops them bombs like fire. And I'm like, clip.
Wow.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I just subscribed to him. Okay.
Yeah,
I gotta check him out. I never heard of him. Yeah, I gotta check him out. For sure.
So let me think. One of my favorite channels is Hot Program, which is from Pocket Locker 86. Hot Program.
Yeah, we know about Pocket Locker. We know about him.
All right. Now,
yeah. You know, I interviewed him, man, and then I interviewed Pocket Locker, man, and it was real interesting, man. Yeah.
Me and Jay were tight for a long time, and then we had a falling out last year.
Jay Bundy.
Yeah.
But Jay Bundy, he tried to, the same shit I talk on here, I'll tell a person in their face. I like him. He's cool, but
yeah.
When you said falling out, I'm like,
Well,
I don't think I'm totally shocked, because what had happened was I had interviewed him. Let me see, hold on, because I want to tell you the detail about this, and he can hear it because we didn't have no falling out or anything like that. But I had interviewed him, and I'm trying to see when I did that. It's on my lives. A year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had interviewed him a year ago because I wanted a different voice, because I had brought up the big topic was about transsexuals, you know what I'm saying, and in sports.
Yeah.
And transgender in sports. And there's a professor out here in Norway at the University of Oslo. He evolutionary biology professor. I had interviewed him 2 years ago, and he's down there. You can catch it on the interview that his name is Glenn Petter Sætre.
Mm-hmm.
He is an evolutionary biology professor at University of Oslo here, and he has a textbook on evolutionary genetics. But it's only male and female.
That's a common talking point from biologists, because they think in terms of
right. But before we get into that, and I want to hold all that information, because I want you to get long-winded on this subject, because I want to hear it. I want to hear your take. So yeah, and he gets a little bit of kind of controversial, on TV and shit out here. And so, I'm a type of guy that if I'm in some sort of Facebook group or somewhere and a lot of people are talking about something, I said, yo, let me go to that. I'm kind of like Myth Vision in a way. Let's go to the motherfucking experts. So I said, hold up, let's go to the guy that written the book and shit about it. So I interviewed his ass. And then I end up finding out about Jay Bundy, who is kind of the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get them to debate.
That'd be something.
See, and I don't even think Jay Bundy. I think I told him when we interviewed him, I don't think he knew that I have people in my arsenal as well. You know what I'm saying? That I had a person that I had interviewed a year before him that says the complete opposite is him. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I think he was feeling like, yo, I'm an evolutionary biologist, blah, blah, blah. But I tried to stay on the humble at that time in a way, believe it or not. And I was like, yo, I know somebody else that's saying otherwise. If you go on my channel, you can go. But anyhow, so after I interviewed him, immediately after, and I didn't even get into that talk, I was just talking about him and how Gutsik Gieben, how he was like, how I think I went on Myth Vision. That's how I found out about him on Myth Vision when Derek found him interesting. when he I think it was on Derek's channel or one of his affiliates, like History Valley or the Gnostic Informant or something, where they show the clip of Jay Bundy kind of obliterating this guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying. And then also I didn't know, and he told me that he had a debate with the guy with the creationist guy,
Ken Hovind.
Ken Hovind.
Sure.
And shit like that. You know what I mean? I find all that stuff out a little bit later. But cool. But immediately, but I interviewed him, a year ago about him. I asked him about him and what he's doing and all these things and how I discovered and found him and some of his views. And then like around the end, I just mentioned about, kind of like transgender and in sports, just because it was a hot topic. And I was like, damn, after I opened my mouth talking about it, it seemed like it was about to go left a little bit. But it didn't, because I was just basically asking questions, and I told him that because I interviewed a guy and I said other people would say this and say that and that. And anyhow, after the interview, I didn't realize, I should have known. Now I know him very well, how some of his behavior. He had that shit streaming on his own shit, Discord and all that. And fucking when we got off the interview, he was going on live still on his shit, and he like turned like to the camera. It was something that got me thinking. He was the only guy that I went to his channel like immediately after I interviewed him, because I know he always be online. So luckily I clicked on his shit, and it was like he went straight into because I guess he had a side view. He was recording the whole interview, and so right when I was done, I clicked to his channel, and the interview kept going, and he turned around and said, "Yo, that was weird," because he was talking about the last part when I was talking about the transgender, in sports and all that shit. And he has that one lady, you know what I'm talking about, that he promotes, the transgender, you know what I mean? And she started to get a little. But I shut that shit down immediately, because I jumped in the chats, and so luckily I caught it, and so that shifted everything, because but it could have went left if I would have just closed the computer and like went to sleep, and I swear to God, it would have been a whole different story, man. And so that was the first time that ever happened on some of the interviews. So when you mentioned that you had a fallout, I'm like,
Right. So I don't. It's so complicated. I don't want to get too much into it. Like, I don't want to talk about what I was upset with.
Yeah. No, we don't have to
about, because he's not here to discuss it. But I did. Here's the thing. Even though there were some things at the time that I had some problems, I had some issues with Jay, and I think I was justified in the concerns that I had, in the way that I felt, but I wasn't justified in how I handled it. Right. I blew up at Jay in a very public setting, put him on blast, and that wasn't okay. I should not have done that. And I apologized to him just the other day on a different stream about it publicly, because that wasn't okay. But at the same time, I don't know, going forward, here's the thing. When he and I used to stream together, we had a beautiful dynamic. Right. I would carry him, he would carry me. We were on the same wavelength. Right. It was just like peanut butter and jelly. It freaking worked. And then, when that fateful day happened, everything blew up. And again, I shouldn't have blown up at him. I could have handled it like a responsible adult, and we could have just worked through it, and I didn't. So that is what it is. But Jay's.
Why did we bring up Pocket Locker anyway? I forget.
Because favorite programs, Hot Topic.
Oh yeah, that's right.
My one black friend, he is usually the guest, but sometimes other people. Is it
called Hot Topic? The YouTube.
It's called Hot Topic. He does it. I think it's on Sundays.
Okay.
And it's also called The Blackout. I think he also calls it.
Hold up. Are you telling me that your favorite YouTube channels to go to are black guys?
Yeah.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
Respect.
White people are boring.
Sorry. Wait, hold up. Is it called The Hot Topic or Hot Topic?
I think he just calls it. He's got Hot Topic and Blackout. I don't remember if they're.
Okay. No, but I mean, when you go to his YouTube channel, what is
whatever one I
Okay.
check out whatever whenever I get an alert, but my one black
Okay.
friend is one of his guests that are regular on there. That's the guy. The guy's internet name is my one black friend. I don't even know his real name, but this guy is so wonderful. This again, I wish I knew his real name. I don't know it. Every time I see him, I want to hug him. Every time I see him, I want to hug him. I told him so. I'm like, I don't know why. I just want to hug you every time I see you. So he's just wonderful. He's got a spirit. I hate to use the word spiritual because so many atheists cringe when they hear the word.
You know, right.
But there's just something about him. I don't know what other word to give it. And so that's and I do like listening to Jay, even though we got unresolved stuff, and maybe we'll.
No, I got you. You don't have to get into it.
But I still respect him. I
do too. No, I do too. I like him. I respect him and everything like that. We ain't got no beef. We ain't got no issues. I was just saying that, when you had mentioned that, I said I don't with that. I'm not totally shocked, but because it could have went left and that happened that hasn't happened with anybody else where they were streaming while you were getting interviewed, and then immediately when I get off, you know what I'm saying, he like turned to the camera and said, "Oh, that was weird," or whatever, because everything was cool until that part, and I was like, "Damn, maybe I shouldn't have opened up about. I shouldn't have." I was like, I shouldn't have asked about that, and that's the
territory within the context. Like it's
definitely.
And they've told me it was one of the points that were a point of controversy between us was that even though I'm trying to be an ally. Right. That I can't relate enough to it to be qualified as somebody to platform the issue itself. That I should leave that to people who understand the issues better, and that can come from a perspective of they have experienced it, they know what it is. It'd be like the way it was given to me is it would be like if I made streams about racism and about the black struggle. Like, who am I to talk about the black struggle? Really?
Right.
Is that kind of a thing? And they had a point. Like, I can get that, right?
No, that's the same thing that exactly with me and stuff like that. That they, yeah, like you said, they got a point, and that was the point that they were trying to get with me or whatever. And and I conceded to some of that, but I'm like, and I was just that's why I specifically was kind of. About sports. I didn't want to talk about anything else when it comes to the trans thing. It was just mainly sports, and it was kind of like, is it fair to women type of question, and it was just out there and his thoughts on it and things like that. Let me see. My one black friend says hot program. Yeah, I'm trying to let me plug it in because I want to find that shit, man. My one black friend. I guess I got to put it all together. The words I'm trying to find. I found the other ones. I just want to check them out. Let me see. My one black friend. Let's see if he gonna pop up somewhere. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. He's always platform with him now. He ran with this dude. Yeah, that dude. Because I'm subscribed to Jay Bundy's Pocket Locker. I'm subscribed to him, and he's been running with this guy right here, like almost daily. He's been running with this guy, so they got like some. Every time I look at it, it always look like homeboys, cooped up in some hotel or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
So I don't know. I know he travels a lot for work. My one black friend does. And I think probably a lot of times he is in a hotel, but I don't know what else he's got going.
No, I'm not trying to be. Every time I looked at it, like I said, outside looking in. Every time I don't go to his channel often, Pocket Locker, but once in a while because he goes live a lot, and it'll pop up, and then I click and I'll see them too, and I'm like, I don't listen to it long at all, and I was like, this dude, he either he's traveling and going through, he's always in a motel, hotel, Holiday Inn. Or he's he's kind of disabled or some shit like that. I can't,
I think he doesn't, even at home. I don't think he has a proper like studio den set up.
Yeah. You always, sometimes you can get a sense of somebody. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, but no, I seen his face. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's crazy because as long as he you always talk about. I always talk about people that should have. They always seem that they should have a lot more followers, right? And
Yeah.
Pocket Locker, you would think that I thought that he would, but then yeah, because he doesn't, and then this guy, One Black Friend, I would think that he would have more subscribers and shit, and so
Yeah, I think the algorithm just
yeah,
it doesn't it isn't fair. I don't really know how the algorithm works, but I know it's
yeah.
a lot
I
of.
don't either. Yeah,
I hate to say it, but it seemed like white channels get promoted more by the algorithm. What do I know? That's just how it seemed to me.
right. Yeah, all right. Damn. So I didn't know you were kind of like tight with that crew.
Yeah.
In
So a
the
part of
past.
Jay's theme or vibe is based on WrestleMania type theatrics, right?
You know?
And because he's a big fan of wrestling, and a lot of people don't understand that in context, right? So I do. I understand completely what's happening over there, but a lot of people don't, and it throws them off guard. Some people are in that vibe. They're like, hell yeah, this is entertaining as shit. Other people are like, yeah, I don't get it because they don't know the context. But yeah, he's a very outspoken advocate of LGBT rights and inclusion in society, and it is a worthy cause for sure, because everybody should be safe, not just feel safe, but be safe. Simply going to a grocery store or walking to the car in a parking lot, women, LGBT people, etc. Everybody should feel like
facts. I agree totally.
Everybody. So and there's a lot of things happening in the political arena that are not.
But sometimes I do get upset, like when I come up with the when I'm specific question when it comes to sports, and then they be coming up with all this other shit. So you think we shouldn't be safe in the parking lot? Like what? I never thought that. I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Right. So with the sports thing, I'm not a big fan of sports in general.
Yeah. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not asking you to answer the question that Jay Bunny himself couldn't even, completely kind of definitively answer when I kind of talked about it. So I'm not asking you that.
I kind of can.
Okay.
Because the thing is, sports are inherently unfair anyways.
Right.
You can't make sports fair. If somebody continually wins and they dominate the sport, even if they're in a women's sport and they were born a woman and are still a woman, if they're consistently winning, it's because they have an unfair advantage and we just don't know what it is. It could be that their lungs process oxygen better. It could be that they have better restorative sleep at night because of some genetic marker. It could be from any number of things that we know nothing about, but they do have an unfair advantage if they continually win and dominate. And so sports are inherently unfair by nature. You can't change it. Now, I'm not a big fan of sports anyways, but I think it's
hey, hold up 1 second. Now that I found this dude, Lake. Yo, Lake. I know you got like 1 million subscribers. You were there on my stream yesterday. I checked your channel out. Some people think you a bot. Yo, Lake, you got 1 million subscribers. Could you do me a solid? Can you stream my video on your channel just tonight and tell people to subscribe to my channel? Could you do that one time for me? I'm asking you, Lake, in particular. Can you? Cause see, now the bots are coming. So I wonder if you're a bot. Cause every time you come on, Lake, you got Flow. Now you got Trashify and shit like that. But I clicked on your shit. If you're not a bot, Lake, put me on your channel. You have over 1 million subscribers.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, he does. Real talk.
Now, what does Lake talk about? What's your channel about?
Well, I don't even know, bro. Maybe you can do some research on this motherfucker because I don't know. He said, "See, I love to, but I don't know." You see?
He's on the fence. That's not a no, though. That if a woman says that to me at a bar, the game's still on.
No, I feel you. But see, once Lake comes on, see, Lake Ray, Shorty, Angel Torres, see, Wavy.
Yeah, that's all right. He gave a shout out and people follow him over. That's all right. Hey, as long as they're behaving in chat, it's a win.
Yeah, no doubt. And I gave you the key to delete people too, man. I gave you several people that I know because I can't handle deleting all these things. As long as you acting right, I don't want no trolls and of course suspected white supremacists. But yeah, Lake Ray, cool. But yo, exactly, bro. But yo, Lake, do that. Put me on one time. Do that tonight, my brother. Real talk. Don't be coming over here and then you got over 1 million. The very least you can do. That's my reparations. All right.
Yeah.
If you ain't a bot, you know what I'm saying? Then Lake, put me on tonight on your channel, bro. You or whatever one that you. I know that.
Well, you might.
One.
Maybe you're on there now. If he's talking about you and people are following him over, maybe he already mentioned your channel.
I don't know, but not only a mention. Can you stream it? Can you stream this conversation? You got over 1 million subscribers and have them Lake shouted you out. Oh, that's what's up.
Hey there, Reddit Deluxe. How are you today?
Hey, there you go. Could you confirm that, James? You the technical savvy one.
I mean, because I don't have.
Oh, my bad.
I would need. I think you gave me a wrench, but I can't do it from inside the StreamYard thing. I'd have to.
Okay, no, that's
if you click on their name,
Chris, you can check that out for me, my Canadian brother. You know what I'm saying? Check out if Lake, because if I go, let me see.
Well, you can do it easily right now, just in the StreamYard chat. Just click on Lake; it'll take you to his channel.
No, it won't in the StreamYard chat, but on the chat I have to go to
on the YouTube side.
I gotta go to the YouTube.
You can go there and just click on his name, and if it brings you to that same channel, then he's the real.
Right.
If it doesn't, then maybe not.
Right.
So while you look into that, I'll just comment briefly on the issue.
Yeah.
Now, there's separate issues. One's the locker room issue. Now, I think the locker room solution needs to be private showers for every athlete. Period. Right. Then same thing in high schools. You can resolve the issue right away by updating building codes to say everybody gets their own shower, everybody gets their own door that they can lock behind them, right? And then you don't have to worry about people's genitals or identity. Like none of that shit could be an issue in the locker room.
Right.
And then as far as the actual sports go, the most controversial person I think to step into that and survive was Stephen Woodford, Rationality Rules. He got in trouble with the atheist community when he said something about the issue. And then he spent 3 consecutive streams. He did a stream about it where he laid out the facts about biology and about hormones and about, how they affect sports performance. And in my opinion, after the end of those 3 days, he'd redeemed himself as far as I was concerned. But I understood, that the issues can be more complex than that. And he did not represent necessarily every single talking point of people that disagreed with him. That it was up to them to bring their own position to that. And then for the public to decide where they are on those issues. But sports are inherently unfair anyways. So that's why I don't follow them, because, what is it to me? So I don't know. I like the idea of leagues, to be honest, where it's like boxing weight classes, just leagues where it's unisex. Any sex can go into it. You call it in whatever you think about genders, whatever. Anybody can compete. And if you compete well enough, you go to the next higher league, and the next higher league after that, period, without concern for your sex or your gender. I like that idea personally, and think that the reason people complain about that idea is because then they say that people who are biologically female will never reach the top league because they aren't going to be able to compete with people who are biologically male. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, then
right.
We got all kinds of people that can't make the upper leagues because of physiological disadvantages that make them genetically unable, biologically unable to reach the higher tiers of sports leagues. But we don't, cry for them. I just think, and this is a hot take, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, but, it's easy for me to say because I don't care about sports anyways.
Right.
But I just think that we could resolve it that way. I think here's the thing. Even if the common talking point amongst liberal, social justice minded people, even if they're the ones that are spot on about this, I do think it's a bit, in terms of sports, I think that sports aren't as important as a discussion or as a platform as civil liberties or as safety or as political rights, right? I think there's so many more issues that are important right now that I feel like the sports front gets too much attention compared to the other issues. And I feel like the whole too far, too fast thing is tearing America apart.
Right. Here's Captive Desk. Did you read the comment?
Okay, he says the sports leagues will work out same as they did, do, and will with the new things that come along, from who wants to participate to drugs, blood, doping, etc. So if I'm reading that correctly, he thinks it could be a workable idea, but will come with problems that are fairly predictable moving forward. But it'll get resistance, but it could be a way forward, if I'm understanding that in context.
Right. I'm when it comes to the transgender sports thing, I'm not smart enough to understand the science where we at now currently, because at one hand you hear the transgender trans community say that it's totally not true, that they have an advantage scientifically and all that. Then you got some people saying no, they do, and all these things like that. I haven't really did a deep dive into all that, and on that question, if have you kind of did a deep dive on that, or
the deepest dive that I did was a handheld dive when I watched Rationality Rules break it down in 3 separate streams. Like, he did the work for me, and I just followed saying, well, if that information's right, then I see your point. And I generally agreed with him. But the thing is, like, even after he had done that, he pretty much lost a lot of friends in the atheist community, because so many atheists are left or
so what was his summation, his conclusion?
So he still talks about this because he feels like he keeps still being misunderstood. So I hate to paraphrase him because I'm at risk of misunderstanding him as well. But my understanding is that there are 2 sexes, that gender is a social construct, but that social construct has its roots in this biological sex. So we can move forward with a different way to engage with the issues in terms of our dialogue, but we can't erase the fact that the 2 sexes exist and that there are
so far that's what Glenn Petter Setra, that the first guy I interviewed, said basically.
Yeah. So moving forward from there.
Yeah. And I don't want to stay on topic because I don't want to be looked at. We don't want to be looked at as, but we're just speaking of what other people are.
Right. Captive Desk. I know Ben Shapiro found out the WNBA, women's NBA, has rules in place covering transgender. So a man in a skirt, so to speak, cannot participate. You have to be on hormones for X amount of times, etc. So you have to eliminate the biological advantage factors that come with being born genetically male. If you satisfy for them that you've eliminated those factors in your staying on that regimen, then they'll allow you to compete within the context. And I think as long as they give them their own showering facilities, all the athletes, not just the individual, everybody, I think should. I went to high school in the 80s, and I got to tell you, even though I didn't have any gender identity issues on my mind, I did not like having to share a shower with a bunch of other guys.
No doubt.
So I think everybody should have their own private shower.
Real talk. I mean, even going in the bathrooms and stuff, there's a certain amount of guys that they just can't take a leak when a whole bunch of guys are sitting right there on the side of you, and I'm one of them. I need to go in my own little stall where I have a door. It just doesn't release, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I just, part of the problem is conservative culture created part of the problem to begin with. Now we see conservative culture pushing back on the transgender community, but the conservative culture helped create the problem in the first place, because they have for thousands of years have been pushing the idea that there is a set of gender aesthetics and gender roles that are specific to this your sexual physiology. You're born a man, born male, born female, and then once that happens, conservative culture says now you've got this list of aesthetics that you're bound to as what part of what's natural to and defining of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. And so you have people growing up in these societies that are saying, wow, here's a list of traits, aesthetic traits, dispositions, the way that I use my voice, the way that I walk, who I'm attracted to, everything on this list of traits. And those are on the list of women's traits. But I was born biologically male. And so they're conflicted about, well, then who am I? What am I? And I don't, this is from the outside looking in. I'm sure that if you were to have the same discussion with an LGBT person, that they would have a different nuance to this discussion. I do not intend to speak for them. I'm only talking about that conservative culture has helped create the problem by saying to be a man doesn't just mean that you have these particular chromosomes or this particular genitals. It means that you're beholden to, that you're obligated to, per nature and per God, a set of aesthetics and a set of gender roles that help define what it means to be a man or a woman. And because people are raised in that culture, and because people don't conform strictly to either list, it creates divergence. It creates this spectrum of ideas about who we are in the world relative to our sexuality, relative to our identity. And that is a result of people trying to find a way to marry the two ideas, that there is a sex that you're born to, but then there's these other sets of traits and roles that are supposed to define what it means to be a man or a woman. And so I just think that people have always been on a spectrum in terms of how they feel about themselves, and in terms of how they naturally talk and walk and relate and who they're attracted to, etc., what they want to wear, etc. But people haven't felt free to be that way, right? If they were born genetically male, but they feel feminine, and they felt like, in the society I'm in, I'm not free to express myself in that way, right? And then now, in order to feel free to express themselves in that way, now they have to wrestle with how society will perceive and receive them. And they have to also identify for themselves who they are in the world. And they're drawing from a lot of the social constructs that they've been fed as part of a society throughout their whole lives, in their efforts to try to define who they are in the world. And so I think the roots of the problem aren't people that are on a spectrum. The roots of the problem are the societies which for thousands of years have been pushing these ideas that if you're born with a certain set of genitals, you are obligated to, and that nature has ascribed for you a certain set of roles and traits that define who you are in the world. That was the root of the problem that people are trying to wrestle with now, as I see it.
Man, it's yeah. I'm not even going.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It is complicated. Now, again, outside looking in, I cannot speak for the LGBT community. I cannot speak for their lived experience. There are many nuances or factual points that I aren't aware of, or that I whatever, right? I'm just saying that I know that this is part of what happened, and I think that it was always a bad idea. I want to live in a world where if somebody who was born with a penis feels like they really love wearing a sundress with pretty flowers on it, they want to grow their hair out longer, they like the name Susan, right? And they feel a certain way and they present a certain way in the world. I want them to feel free to be that and not be worried about getting mugged on their way to a grocery store, right? I don't want that for them. So, I think that we speak too much in polemics in society in terms of the political discourse, and us versus them, and it's all the way one way or all the way another. And I just feel like I'm on the outside of it looking in. Don't get me wrong. I can't speak to the LGBT experience any more than I can speak to the Black experience, right?
Right.
But I know that forward, we're going to have to stop demanding of everyone that there's a certain set of roles and aesthetics that they're bound to just because of their physical body they were born into. I think we need to move past that.
Right. Here goes captive desk. Stalls for showers and toilets is a good idea. Let's see. And then Chris Moore. I don't know about Icapod and Durante Lamar are Black Atheist YouTubers too. Cool. I will definitely check them out. Icapod. You wouldn't happen. I know Chris. No, is it Chris? Yeah, Chris Moore. I know you wouldn't happen to be. This is the last time I'm going to mention it. Link to Lake. It wouldn't be you, right? Flo, Lake, Shorty, Wavy, DVFT, Guy Central, Chop, Blade, Skies or Reddick Deluxe or anything like that. You wouldn't be you. It wouldn't be you, would it? That you have some secret YouTube channels or something like that. Anyway,
who you asking that to?
Chris Moore. No, it ain't you.
Oh no.
Okay, I got you. No, because I read one of your comments way up top, and you were just joking. But anyhow, yeah. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how this group of people. I appreciate it if they're real people. I believe they are. Yes. All right. But yeah, link me to your shit, guys. You got over 1 million followers. Yeah, link me to your shit. Anyway, yeah. Let me see. Icapod. Who you? I guess you know who he is, right?
Yeah. So Icapod is also known as his real name is Brady. I'm trying to remember his last name. He was a rapper. He was
okay. I see his channel.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Okay. Go ahead. He was a rapper.
He was on Houston at Mythvision too. This is why I refer to Mythvision as the hub of the network of communities. Because almost all the channels lead back in short order to Mythvision.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I see that Icapod and your boy who you told me about, Durante, they just linked up to do a podcast together or whatever. All right.
So I have a theory about the future, about what it might look like in terms of sex.
Right. Go ahead.
My theory is that we'll change the way that we use language, and we as in descendants, future generations, and that instead of saying,
I thought you were about to say something about the AI shit, and
nah. Like imagine a society where people, instead of saying penis and vagina, they refer to it like a belly button, and you have an innie or an outie. Right. Or what if instead of saying ovaries versus testicles, they refer to them as some word that means like seed pods, and you simply have an external or an internal seed pod. Right. And I can see a far future humanity, like 2,000 years from now, completely talking about these things in a different way, to where we don't even have male and female division necessarily, except for reproductive sake. And even honestly, I think technology is going to get to the point where we can incubate babies from fertilization all the way to full maturation inside machines. I think at some point we'll no longer be dependent upon our biology in order to bring children into the world.
That sounds interesting.
So I do think that the conversation will be a very different thing 100 years, even 50 years from now than it is now.
Right. Let me see. Yeah. We've been going on for a minute, so I'll probably shut it down within 10 or 15 minutes from now. Let me see. Anything else we can get out there? What is going on in the world? Was there something that sometimes I look on my Facebook. I use the long form communication.
Yeah.
Facebook and YouTube. I'm not frequent at all on Twitter or X, TikTok. I don't have no Snapchat or anything like that.
Yeah, same here. I got Facebook and YouTube is all I've got.
Yeah, so I'm on the long form. So sometimes I guess I'll go to some of the people that I check out on Facebook, and they're usually pretty good of pulling up topics.
So I guess
go
now
ahead.
my worry is that I've not engaged with the material. I shouldn't. It wasn't smart necessarily for me
What
to
do you mean?
talk about LGBT stuff because I'm not qualified to talk about it. Right? I know what it looks like to me on the outside looking in.
Right.
But man,
You're entitled to an opinion, and you know that
I'm
you believe
entitled
that.
to it, but other people are entitled to decide that
Yeah.
I'm dog shit for having it. So
Right.
we shall see.
No, I don't think you dog shit at all. And yeah. But they might not even, know about it. Anyway.
But yeah, I've said before on my own channel, I don't too much care about sex and gender for myself. Like if I were to have an afterlife where I get to decide what form that afterlife takes, I don't think I'd spend a whole lot of time in a human body or a physical body anyways. I'd be clouds, and I'd be puddles, and I'd be the rain, and I'd be the wind. I'd be a big giant ball with a smiley face on it bouncing down the side of a mountain. Very rarely would I even have any genitals to speak of if I had my choice.
Okay. All right. Well, I hear you. That seems like that's where the future's going.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, I just read something about Colson Whitehead. Have you heard of Colson Whitehead? No. Anyway.
Colson Whitehead? What about him?
Yeah. He's a writer. Have you heard about him?
I don't think I read his stuff. What's he got going on?
Actually, he came out here to Norway. It's funny because one of my friends hosted Colson Whitehead out here without telling me. Nafisa. Anyway, she's that's an African American woman out here in Norway, in the second biggest city, Bergen area, on the west coast of Norway. She's like a professor, college professor. She's from I think Harlem, or I forget where in New York City. I think he is. No, it was just some news about him. Talking about he has withdrawn as a 2024 commencement speaker. So I guess that's a topic right now. I got to look into that.
All right.
But yeah, I didn't do enough research on it. I'm just looking topically. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see. There's nothing really going on. Anything that you could think of that topic of the day?
Well, Captive Desk says nice discussion. He's heading out to grill up dinner, and happy Mother's Day for moms. Catch you later. And I'd like to apologize, even though I actually really meant it, to all the white people in the audience when I said you're boring.
Now you cleaning up.
Yeah,
You done rambled and gave lectures and shit, and now you trying to clean up.
Trying to clean up my mess.
Right.
For sure.
No, man, you good over here. Yeah, nice to get. I appreciate you, Captive Desk. Yeah. I think we about to close out. This definitely.
Oh yeah, Esther over at Afro Atheist. She's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I know her. I definitely know her. She know me. I know her. She interviewed me, and I interviewed her back when she was an Afro-humanist, or
yeah,
I forget. But yeah, she definitely know about me, man. So yeah, I appreciate that though. Yeah, she definitely know about me. We contact each other once in a while. She gets heavy on the, because she's from the continent, from Nigeria. So, and she lives in the UK, so she gets heavy on those reaction videos with the the African Christians. The African Christians over there, they do the most. So she has plenty of material to be and she's on TikTok now heavily and things like that. So she does her thing. I check her out. She pops up every now and then because I'm subscribed to her and stuff like that. But some of the things I'm just not, I don't, know all the particulars because I'm not from the continent, and so, I can relate to more of things going on in the Black church in America rather than the ones. Okay, Maya Addison.
I think it's Atkinson, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, you know all the fucking Black atheists, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're way more interesting than the white ones.
Right.
Say it again.
Damn, boy. Let me say, shit. I thought I knew about the damn community. I don't know shit. Okay, Maya Atkinson. Yeah, I never even heard
Yeah,
of this lady.
she got
let
a
me
she got a channel. I think she goes on with her. Is it Tapioca Weasel? I think is their
Okay.
boyfriend or something. But they got a channel. But she's a moderator at a whole lot of channels, including Kip Davis and some other
Okay.
like upper.
Okay, I
Ivy
got
League
you.
channels. Yeah.
I got you. I know of the one girl, the black girl that has a white boyfriend that be DJing and shit on his channel.
Oh
And
yeah. That's
yeah,
what's his name again?
Yeah, he follows me on Facebook. I follow him, and we subscribe to each other on YouTube and stuff like that. But
Yeah, he sent a bunch of people over to Graydon Square's channel recently by plugging his stuff.
Okay.
Graydon
Yeah.
Square's music.
I was trying to figure him out. I was thinking he was trying to low key just get his DJ shit off or his comedy thing or whatever. Just trying to blow up by any means necessary. You know what I'm
Well, I
saying?
mean, he's got a lot going on, so why not
Yeah.
platform all the things and see what
feel
sticks
me?
to the wall?
Yeah, and try to start a network too, like the atheist, the Austin atheist community. I've been peeping all that shit.
He hustling for sure. I mean, you got to respect it.
Yeah, for sure, most definitely. Yeah. I'll be seeing all those things, man. I'll be in the back.
Yeah, as soon as we're off here, I'll remember his name. It's like 3 letters. Two. Oz something.
Yeah, Oz. That's right. All these people that Chris that you put it out, I subscribe to them. So cool. So I can stay linked to see what's going on. One person I would like to interview, Anthony Penn. Anthony Penn. I know you know Anthony Penn. Do you? Have you heard of him?
Anthony Penn.
If you're into humanist, he is the guy. He is the one writing the textbook on humanism, bro. And it's a black guy, Anthony Penn. I think he graduated from one of them Ivy League schools or some shit like that. I think so. Anthony Penn. He has a new book coming out soon. If it didn't just come out, he's let me say, Anthony Penn, Pinn, Anthony B. Penn. He went to Rice University, I think, or is he working?
Yeah, he's Freedom from Religion Foundation from 9 years ago. So he's been there for a while.
No, he's a heavyweight. He's one of the heavyweights when it comes to Black Foundation.
I recognize him now. Him now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's linked in a lot with Mandisa Thomas and all that like that. But he's as probably as far as a black person, African American is concerned, I think he's kind of put up some of the most popular scholarly works when it comes to humanism and atheism and stuff like that than anybody, as you can see. Facts. His publication, his books are insane. He has a new one that's coming out, or just came out, called The Black Practice of Disbelief: An Introduction to the Principles, History, and Communities of Black Non-Believers. And he has he was the one who put out that edited the Oxford Handbook of Humanism. You know what I'm saying? So he talked about Kendrick Lamar and the making of a Black Meaning a long time ago, before this beef. He has 2 books on that he edited and wrote about on humanism. So, you know what I mean? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anthony Penn.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on today and for letting me ramble as much as I did.
Yeah. No, I was, when you threw me off, you threw me for a loop, man. No, I appreciate you, Chris Moore. You threw me for a loop, James. No, I remember your face and everything. I didn't realize how articulate you were and how knowledgeable you were about things. And so I'm happy that you came in, and I'm like, wow, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I'm still like, yeah, you threw me off a little bit, but it was good. It's in a positive way. And so,
well, I appreciate that. I do.
And some of the people that don't know you definitely now gonna know you. And
so I've got a channel over there. I think right now.
What's your channel? What's your channel?
Let me find it. I think right now it's called A Persona Non Grata. Let me go find my own channel.
You had to get all sophisticated and shit with the name, huh?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
You ain't
For a
gonna get no
long
black. Hey, you ain't gonna get no black people. You ain't gonna catch no black people going there, man. If it's that long. And
No, I need
let me
to
stop
change the name.
bullshitting. Yeah.
I need to change the name for sure. But the thing is, people kept it's been a running joke in the community to make fun of my last name, James Applesauce, James.
Oh,
You know, and so I made fun of my own name when I changed the channel name to that. But
gotcha.
here, let me drop it in.
Yeah, and then we can probably go to it and on share the screen so people can know what it looked like.
There we go. So I've got that. I dropped the link there at the main. On
Is
the
it in the? Okay.
Okay.
Boom. Let me see if I can Let's see. Because I have to go to, because inside the StreamYard it doesn't allow me to click on that bad boy.
Yeah,
But
I know, that's crazy.
That's the thing they need to change. All right. Let's see. That's what's up. All right, let me see. Go to, now I'm going to share the screen. Boom. There we go. And here goes James Apperson's YouTube channel.
Right. So
to help, yeah, go ahead.
Most often I talk about Christianity because it's the religion of dominance here in America.
Right.
Sometimes
subscribe now. Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to make my channel inclusive. Like, so I don't care if you're liberal or conservative. I don't care if you're a theist or an atheist. As long as you behave well, I don't care. You're welcome in. You can be an axe murderer. Just don't ask me to help you hide the bodies. Behave.
Yeah.
That's it.
I feel you. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Let me see what videos. Oh yeah, so you got 2 on the video section, and then I guess you go live on.
I usually go live, yeah, and I just talk.
Yeah.
I hardly ever prepare. I just have a topic and I jump in with it.
Man, I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way. Yeah. You go in. I see that. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're not as lazy, so you at least put on, for the thumbnail, you throw something up. You at least find something to throw up for a thumbnail or something. I think I'm naming my shit like Dan McClellan's shit. Come say hi. Now I'm giving it numbers and shit. All right, man. I'm not putting in no thumbnail. Yeah,
you got great points though, and I'm with you 100% on that stuff. Like even with Dan McClellan, I'm like, man, I'm so torn. I want to be supportive of what he's doing because he's this and that. It's good for the world.
Speaking of Danny McClellan, I'm clicking over a video you talked about him a little bit. Mike Jones and the No True Liars fallacy.
Yeah.
Okay. I see his face pop up. So you kind of talk.
Yeah, I share stuff from his stuff. Now, usually I agree with Dan, but every once in a while I disagree with him, and I talk about that too sometimes.
Okay. How dare you disagree with him?
I know, right? I make it a point. Like I look.
He's a critical scholar. You think you're more critical than him?
Yeah, sometimes.
And next time I come on live and you come in, there's some other people I would like to mention and we can talk about, but I'm not gonna bring it up now because we'll end up going even longer. But let me see. What are your thoughts on these people or whatever? Let me see. Yeah. No, I'm just going down this channel. I think I'm still sharing screen. Cool.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see the thumbnails at least.
Yeah, right here. Oh, look at you. Finish him. This one right here.
Yeah. That was from
that was a year ago. Yeah.
Derek and Dr. Price and stuff.
That's, you know what's crazy? Hold up. I don't think. Hold up. I don't know. I only assume. So was on that video right here that you're seeing of yours, was Jay talking about the Robert Price situation on this?
I don't remember. There have been times where Jay and I discussed it on my channel, and some
Okay,
of my
but I wonder. I'm just curious. I wonder if he didn't start talking about it until after I interviewed him.
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I think the whole community was talking about it once Derek did a stream about it. Like, and then I was really surprised. You mentioned this earlier to see how many people were on Robert Price's side of it that were in the atheist community, and I thought, wow, I never would have thought that.
But what I did notice though that I talked about is that moment. There was a couple of moments because it wasn't clear cut. It wasn't straight because I had noticed that okay, so Derek finally decided to cut him off or whatever, but then right, and then the rest of them kind of did, and then suddenly out of nowhere, History Valley popped them up. You know what I'm saying?
History Valley at first, History Valley was not supportive, and then they came around.
I can tell because he was like, it seemed like they were like, in my eyes, I was like, oh shit, that homeboy was like, fuck it. He brought him up there, and then Derek pulled him in one time, or at least maybe an old video of him out of the blue as well, and then he kind of, didn't go back to that or something like that. It was like he cut him off, and then suddenly I saw History Valley had him up on there, and then Derek might have had an old video of him or something, or might have did something real quick with him, and then it stopped again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at first, people have changed, right? So History Valley at first was like, I think Derek went too far, and then later on they realized what Price was really about, and they got on board with it, and then now they're on Derek's side of that whole thing. So
right.
Now at one point, Neil and I think Jay, they had Robert Price on to have a discussion and hopefully get some apologies and kind of bring him back. Like we wanted to give him another chance to rehabilitate his image and his name and correct some of the shit that he had said. And so they scheduled the stream, and then Robert Price is like, I ain't apologizing for nothing.
Yep. I think that's his attitude.
Yeah.
And the thing was, when you kind of that popular, and I guess he was bringing a lot of viewership and a lot of numbers to Myth Vision, Derek's channel, I believe. That's the whole reason why they didn't want to I don't want to say cash cow, but they didn't want to let his ass go.
Right. Well, it worked out good for both channels. It was a net sum positive for Myth Vision to cut him loose, and it was a net sum positive for Price as well, because Price brought in a whole lot of new people who wanted to be supportive of his side of the culture war.
Right.
So they both ended up ahead for it, and I think that Derek made the right decisions all the way through. So.
And I'm sure there's somebody that's pulling him in though, or he might have teamed up with somebody doing a podcast. I forgot, but anyway, I haven't looked them up.
So, and I've got some streams lined up that I might do. I don't know if you know who. Well, Neil from Gnostic Informant. I thought about doing a stream about historicism versus mythicism. He said that he'd be up for that, and we haven't scheduled it. And then Tobias Singer has asked if he can be on my channel, and we could like dual stream it or something. And I just haven't taken him up on the offer yet, but I might. Moving forward, I might do it. I need to think about how I want to structure that, because I love Tobias Singer when he talks about Christianity and exposing Christianity's misunderstandings of the Jewish texts and traditions. But at the same time, Tobias Singer is a Jewish religious fundamentalist, and he's sitting on his own bullshit. And I kind of don't want to not call him out for it, but I also don't want to make him feel ambushed, right? So I had to figure out exactly how to approach that so that I'm fair, right? So that's why I haven't done that stream yet, because I don't want to go one way or the other on it. So we'll see what happens. So
I've never. I know he was on Myth Vision.
Tobias Singer goes on there.
Yeah, Tobias Singer, the rabbi, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he I never really I have to admit I never really clicked on his thing to really listen to him, but
right. So he does street epistemology, like he goes to Christians and talks to them about how they've misunderstood the Hebrew Bible. They've misunderstood Isaiah 53, for example, the suffering curve, and how they've misunderstood what that was in reference to.
Yeah.
So he does a great job of it. He shuts them down pretty good. But, he's got his own beliefs that can't really be supported by facts or logic or ethics. But, do I want to call him out for that? I don't know. It's kind of like with Dan McClellan. Like, I kind of do want to call him out, and I also kind of don't, and I'm not sure what to do with that.
Right.
So,
man, I remember when Myth Vision was about 50. When I first started hearing about it, he was about 50 or about 40, but between 40 to 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Now he's over almost 250,000.
He'll be at 1 million in a couple years, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I believe so. They're coming to him.
Right. And he's doing a lot of good work. He's connecting not just people, like lay people, with scholars.
No, you're correct. You reminded me. Now, he connected. I like how he's doing it, too, because he's kind of the mainstream in this shit right now. He connected a lot of people in the black community, the so-called conscious community out of Harlem, New York, with Garfield.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, like you heard
this is what I told Derek. I'm like, look, I don't even know if you realize just how many people you're connecting with the people that they need to be connected with, that they weren't connected with before, not just individually, but as groups. And I started talking about the different tiers of where that's happening, and that's a good example. But even scholars, there are some scholars that never even read from each other's work or talked to each other, and now they're doing collaborations, right? And at every level, he's connecting people with people they weren't connected to, but now they are, and they're empowered for it. And he's just making education better and more available to more people on every level. And I just,
Facts.
And
he far exceeds me by far. He's doing a great job. He's the guy. The only one thing that I don't give a damn what nobody's saying. I'm gonna keep my one claim, and I'm gonna keep it to myself, is the Cara Cooney one, because of several things. One, nobody brought out what I have brought out. I knew about her long time. I believe I was the first one, even because I used to follow the conscious community with Garfield and out of Harlem, New York. I used to follow them way before I ran into Myth Vision, and they didn't even have Cara Cooney, and I believe out of the atheist community, you can look at the dates, man. I believe I was the first one that bring out Cara Cooney, and then everybody else, because Derek follows me on Facebook. I follow him and all these other people. So I have, and then not only that, when I interviewed her, she brought out some black facts to me about how she used to be a professor at a HBCU, Howard University, and that she was the professor at one short point in time of Chadwick Boseman, the guy that died, Black Panther movie. She sent me one of his scripts.
Wow.
From his assignment. See, y'all don't know that.
You know what? She's
I keep that to my chest. You know what I'm saying? Because just in case somebody that's big like Myth Vision, I have to like break that down, and that's why I broke down the fact that the ironic thing that nobody else pointed out, because they didn't know about Robert Price. Actually, first podcast ever was a black guy, and with Dan McClellan about what Greenback was his name, Greenback that I just showed you,
Greenflake,
and these certain things. But like the Cara Cooney thing, I was like, now they got her on there. I was like, I always figured, I was like, why does nobody bring her on here? Like, this woman is, and I looked, Myth Vision, combed through it, everybody else linked to them. They never even had her up there, dude. After shortly after I interviewed, look at the dates, man. Shortly after I interviewed her, man, everybody started throwing her around. Myth Vision, the black community did, and all these other people. I'm telling you, facts, bro.
Absolutely. And I've got her book too, about The Good King's Absolute Power. I've got that. It's a brilliant book. She's a brilliant person, and honestly, she's so damn cute. Like
Yeah.
I want a calendar. I want a Myth
Right,
Vision calendar.
right. That's
I
what's
never
up.
realized how many academics were attractive people. Like there's so many
Yeah,
hot people on that channel. It's crazy.
yep. That's why I knew she was gonna sell, and that's why
Yeah,
I brought her there, bro. I was the first one to bring her, and because I posted on my Facebook, with Cara Cooney and shit, and I know they
yeah,
saw that shit. You feel me? And then
yeah,
of
yeah.
course, months later,
Yeah.
they gonna bring her in there and shit like that.
Cara
You know what
Cooney,
I'm saying?
Robin Faith Walsh.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I admit they knew about the Robin Face Walsh.
Yeah.
They all before that. But I'm just taking credit. I'm taking credit for the Cara Cooney, my
Yeah, there
dude.
you go.
And because even Garfield and other people, of course, Myth Vision ain't gonna ask certain questions because he's not black and he don't, but Garfield, who he linked with when they saw Myth Vision had Cara Cooney, so they gonna pick her up and then throw her in the so-called black conscious community late, and I was the first one, and they didn't even get to the certain questions that the black community wants to know. I mean, some of it, but like, is the Medu Neter, is that deciphered? Egyptian hieroglyphics, Medu Neter, is that deciphered? And certain other questions that plagues the black community, but
Yeah.
she never she gave me an exclusive, man, and I will always appreciate that shit.
That's awesome.
Real talk. You go to my interview, and that was early when I was interviewing. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about and doing, and but she fed me an exclusive. But yeah, she used to be on that night show all the time.
Yeah.
When you look her up, yeah, she was heavy in that space. But I think out of my interview, I think Myth Vision, Derek did it the best, of course, when it comes to the Bible and the text and all that shit, because he knows a lot more than I do when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to shit concerning like black people,
Mm-hmm.
I think I asked the best questions, man.
I
Like
believe
Garfield and them, they didn't ask like all, and this was a long time ago before Myth Vision even knew about it, man. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna hold on to that shit for real.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're making a difference, a real contribution, and you're
Hey.
connecting people with people and with the issues that they need to be talking about. They need to be aware of.
That's it. I just try to talk to the experts, man.
There you go.
For sure. But anyway, I appreciate you, James Apperson. Everybody that are listening are going to get tuned into this video later. Go to James Apperson's channel.
Right. And if I said anything that offended anyone, I may or may not be sorry. It depends. But if you want to call me out for my bullshit, let me know. We'll schedule a time. You can come on the channel and explain how I got it wrong. And I will listen, consider it, and we can grow together.
That's what's up, man. And I don't think my channel's big enough for them to even, but we'll see. Yeah. And if I said anything, same thing, same answer. I'm piggybacking off it.
There we go. That's fair.
But yeah, so I'm gonna end it now.
All right, have a great day, everyone.
I'm already gonna get a lot of flack because there were some people that was trying to call me. They was like, "What's going on? You had a 8-month hiatus, and suddenly then you interviewed 2 people live, and then you went on live stream twice after that, back to back, 3 hours in a row. They think something just happened to me, man. Like, I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah.
All
But anyway, you have a good evening.
You too, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See.